Hey, Captain, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. I hear you.
This is Scott. I'm on my tablet. I just got Wi-Fi in my shop, and I wanted to try it out, see if it worked.
Well, it looks like it is.
Yep.
Change the
So,
name on your screen.
yeah, I'm not sure quite how to do that on my tablet yet. I haven't figured that out.
All right, hold on.
It's
Yeah.
Galaxy S2.
All right, Scott.
I'm on twice, actually, Eddie. I'm on my computer and I'm on my tablet. I'm on Galaxy S2.
Okay, now you're Scott.
Yeah, there we go. You should be able to see my drill press. I wanted to show you a tip before I lose my internet out here.
All right. Good. Show. Well, why don't we do that? Go ahead.
So Doug was talking about drilling holes in his pen blanks, and he was having troubles doing that. So I have a set of V-jaws that I put in this vise that I made out of some plastic. So they have magnets on the back, so you can stick them wherever you want when you're not using them. And then here's a set. Whoops. Here's a set that I'm actually making for my buddy, that I just taught how to turn pens. So that's my tip for the week. It's a little early in the show, but I just wanted to see if my internet was working. Now maybe I can do some demos at some point.
All right. We'll look forward to that. That'd be nice.
In my
That's a great way to do that.
My shop's very messy at the moment. I'm rearranging. I just retired, so I got the wild hair to change everything over.
It's a good move. I like using
Yep.
my phone, but we got T-Mobile, and it just flat sucks. But
What? I'm actually running off my house internet, and I'm probably a good 200 feet from my house.
well, I'm in my house with this wireless thing that T-Mobile
My
gives you,
Wi-Fi in my house.
and
I have Charter internet, so I have pretty good internet.
Now you're breaking up.
Get a signal in my shop. The back wall of my shop, all the wood, some cabinets I'm working on, my mini lathe. It's actually my on a rolling toolbox, so that I can go demonstrations when I want to. That's my mini lathe, and then over on this wall, behind this pile of stuff, is my 70-year-old restored Dunlop lathe that I like to restore old tools, so I don't want to see anything go to waste.
I like that.
So
I did that.
that machine runs really well.
I had one come in one time. It was a Rockwell Delta. We used the heck out of it for a while, and then somebody said, "Why don't you change the motor and step it up?" So I took the motor off. It was a 1/4 horsepower motor, made back.
Yeah, this
in
one's
the 30s.
only I think it's only a third, if you can see it back here.
Yeah.
It's little.
But with step gears, it ran beautiful. And
yeah, runs great. It's a great machine, and I use it for turning tool handles mainly.
Yeah. I loved it when I told a friend of mine the size it was in a 1/4 horsepower. He went and did a little research. It would be equivalent to what they sell right now as a horsepower.
Yeah.
Because the rating changed so much. And he builds equipment, and he has to be careful about what he needs for it. He can't rate it by what the label says. He's got to look at the torque and the crank up and all this other stuff. And he's a good designer, and I think that's why he keeps that job, because he doesn't rely on other people's opinions. So, Dave, you're recording. I'm recording, so we should be all right.
Absolutely perfect.
I don't see Brenda in the pack tonight yet.
I'm here.
I see you, Doug, and now you're part of the team.
All right, thank you.
As you always were. Um, we said it, folks, and I don't want to turn anybody off. It's not a clique or a gang. When folks wish to help us, we let them help us. And tonight might need a little help with this tips and tricks program we have going. Hope we see
Hey,
Brenda.
Doug, since you just signed in,
No, I
you can
saw it.
highlight me again. Hey, Eddie, can you highlight me again so I can show Doug what I have for making sure you get your pen blanks centered?
Scott,
Yeah.
I saw it a while ago. I was already there.
Oh, you already there?
Yeah, that looks great.
It works really good, Doug, because you don't drop the pen all the way down, so it's not sitting on the bottom. And it doesn't matter if your pen blank is even square; it'll always drill it straight.
Right.
The biggest thing is if you got a swivel head table, you got to make sure you're parallel to the perpendicular to your table.
Yeah,
no matter
that
what
was
you
my
do, it'll
problem.
never be straight.
Yeah, I had it in a wood screw and had squared it and everything to the table, but my table wasn't square.
Yeah, it'll do it to you every time.
Yeah, buddy, sure will.
So I have mine. Mine is a swivel head table, but I got it pinned so it can't move. I drilled a hole in it so that I could pin it just for that purpose. I can pull the pin and still swivel it, but I pinned it so it'll never move.
There you go.
Scott, your internet speed is varying, so you may have to watch that if you're going to actually try and do a demo down the road sometime. Probably try and get a little bit better signal strength.
Okay, that's good.
They do have a booster.
Yep, I got to move the router a little closer.
Yeah, they have. There's
You just got to move the router a little closer.
Yeah, you may have to add a booster.
Yeah, they're not expensive and they work fairly well. Johnny Hughes has one in his shop, in his house. Pardon me, in his shop, because he's got a metal building only 20 feet from his back door, but he still couldn't get a good signal.
Mm-hmm.
And he put this little rig in, and boom, it's like home.
I did a thing today. I boosted up to fiber optic.
Is that why you're changing?
I did fiber optic today. It was something else. I'm 500 down, over 500 down, and over 100 up.
Wow, that's pretty good. We're waiting for some things to happen before we dump this T-Mobile thing, but I'm dumping it. It's, we have to find something else in the area, because if I clicked on my OBS program right now, I'd overdrive the bandwidth and boom, I'd be going.
Right.
If I have anything else open on my laptop, it will, since that's open and whatever. So I got to do a cold restart and only activate Zoom. And before I could have 5 or 6 programs running when I was on AT&T dish on a roof. But if we had a storm, I was out. But I'm considering going hardwire again. Hell, I got so many wires coming to the house now.
Sure.
I'm going to eventually hardwire my shop. It's just summertime and I spend all my time up north. I'm just home for a couple of days now. The fishing's too good to be at home.
Yeah, I'm restricted on traveling because of treatments right now, but I really don't miss the road. It's just, I like things not changing.
My cabin's only 2 hours away, Eddie, so it isn't so bad.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's pretty good.
I go from central Wisconsin to northern Wisconsin. I'm about an hour from the Michigan border.
Okay. The
and
pretty
hope to
part,
live there soon.
the hour from the pretty part of Michigan, correct?
Right. Yep. The lower peninsula. Or the upper, I mean. Sorry.
Yeah, that is pretty. I used to go. When I was in the Air Force, I'd go up there and inspect the radar site up there, and I loved it up there. I mean, it was on my route, and I'd go all the way over to the Dakotas over a week, 10 days time. That was beautiful country up there. Oh, it was not. I wouldn't have given it up on the bet, but Guam called and I had to go answer. So, but we got SWAT coming up in 2 weeks. That's the 26th, 27th, and 28th in Waco, Texas. And I've heard from a couple of Joaquin's going to demonstrate there. Because it came up the other day, a guy called me about, and he's with the Detroit Area Woodturners. I hope I got that name of the club right. And he called me about what to do with, get this, it's a club. And he wanted to know what to do with freedom pens, beads of courage, and wig stands. They're jumping on board that train it's going full blast. I mean, and I like to hear that of a club being active like that. And it's not how many they can do, it's when you have that that variation in what you can turn out, you will cover the whole crew in your club. I mean, an easy turning, well, I'm going to be careful about this. Easy turning for a wig stand, or turning a freedom pen, or a beads of courage box. And Joaquin's really big on the beads of courage box because that's a huge part of what you see at SWAT. I mean, I'd say a third of their gallery, and a fantastic gallery. This is a gallery where if they didn't hold me back, I'd never leave there. I could walk around all day long and look at the items in gallery there, and come away with brainstorms. But that club in Detroit, Matt Hauber is a member of that club, and so was a couple of other folks that showed us their work. It's good to help them and get in there, because I'd like to see all three of those projects grow. And I heard a local guy who did tons of wig stands a while back, and the oncology group said they had enough. So I found them a new oncology group who didn't have enough. But he's been doing small jars. I got it written here someplace. Small jars, bottle stoppers, and other items to go to the 101st Division. I think it's airborne. It was in the Air Force. We didn't have all those divisions. But he's turning like crazy to send things. We were asked to support those groups. And it's not just Freedom Pens going to those folks. They'd like to have just about anything. It's all thank yous for the troops. And I think it's a good move. It really is. We're still collecting Freedom Pens, and that's through Doug Rowe and Company. I saw what Doug did an art festival affair last weekend. I hadn't heard from him to see how he made out. But he was all pumped up about, I'm sorry, it's not Sergeant Doug, it's Professor Doug. You have to get it right. Now that he's been benefited up to being a professor, he might have one of the most dangerous jobs in America. He's in school teaching. All right, we saw one tip tonight. If you've got another one you'd like to share with us. Oh, wait, I'm going to go back to that one we saw a few minutes ago. And pardon, this is dirty. This is my pen drilling jig. very much sort of like what Scott was talking about. This is the one I bought from Penn State or Craft, one of those folks. You see how dirty it is because I don't use it. But I raised it and put it on some coriander sleepers. And that's so I can slide, they're 1/2 inch thick. I can slide a 1/2 inch waste block underneath this drill area. So when I go through, I'm drilling almost continuously and I don't have a blowout or hitting totally different surfaces to where I'll blow the bottom of the tube out. And you'll know how that is. You got a beautiful piece and you drill down and just enough gets blown out and you got to dance a different tune. So I developed this and I'd rather enjoyed it. Then I cheated just like Scott did. I found another way to hold mine. In a little while I'll get that clamp out and show you, because it's brain dead simple. And if you, Scott said he turns tool handles. If you turn tool handles, what is one of the harder things of turning a tool handle, and that is drilling the hole. When I show you this jig, yeah, it's such a cheat. I've had this one for over 60 years. It's such a simple jig for doing that. You can drill a hole in a handle, hole in a fence post. Doesn't really matter. It'll hold it plumb and straight, and it's simple to make. So it doesn't come this way. You have to buy the clamp and make it this way. And then Scott also, I think Doug was saying, watch the levelness of your table on your drill press. That is one, I learned this time ago. That's one of the easiest things to check with a simple device. And I'm talking simple. It's a device you probably have in your shop right now. And it will let you know if it's not absolutely plumb to the quill, you'll know about it. And that's the thing some folks miss is it's not level and plumb. It's a 90-degree angle that's critical. So the machine is sitting a little bit crooked. You can't use the level to get level and plumb because the machine's crooked. If you make your own tool and you adjust by it, you don't have that problem because you're not dealing with plumb and level, you're dealing with 90-degree corners. And I'm trying to get a sheet up here so I can show you. Hopefully it'll come on. Oh, I'm terrible at drawing the chuck. Looks like Charles. Mine is a 1/4 inch rod. This is Charles, right up here, my chuck. And this is a piece of 1/4 inch rod. And I bent it 90, and I bent it 90. Now, if it's not exactly 90, that's not important. What's important is this, and that works itself out. Because if we are skewed a little bit, and the bottom goes this way, and the top goes out proud this way, and the bottom goes out at an angle, that doesn't bother it. We're talking about this point and this point. Because if you, now I'm going to draw on the bed. Y'all ready for this? Draw on the bed. That's my lathe bed. My drill press bed. So when I put this in and I raise my bed and it touches right here, that contact area, when I swing this bar around 180 degrees, this, boy, you talk about a trick here. Can't do it. My mind's eye won't do it. When I swing it round the other direction, if I'm touching here, when I 180 this, I am going to be touching here if my platform is level.
Yep.
You got that? And it's a piece of 1/4 inch rod. That's all it is. Any,
Eddie,
Hey, Eddie.
Eddie,
yeah.
we should use the word square, not level. Like, level confuses people. It's actually square and plumb to the axis of the quill.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey,
Okay.
Eddie. You can do the same thing with a wire coat hanger.
You see, I said mine's high tech. I'm using a piece of 1/4 inch rod. But you're right. Unfortunately, in this household, we don't get wire hangers stick around for a moment. Boy, do I miss that. But I had mine. I worked in a cabinet shop in 1962, and we had something with drilling, and it had to be absolutely true to the quill, and that's how the guy checked where the platform set to do it, and I was totally amazed. And he'd cut ours, he made ours out of a piece of 1/4 inch rebar that was laying around, just bent it, stuck it up in there, and everybody's thinking, "Oh, where do you get those numbers? How do you figure it out?" It's a swing thing, and it really does work. I've got mine somewhere over there by the drill press, but when I get my bed set, I muscle down a lock on it, because very few times I want to do a cock. I'll do a shim block if I want to move something off of square, as Carl said, square.
So I use a drafting triangle. I have the same principle, but I use a drafting triangle.
Yeah, that'll work. I don't want to be cruel. You have to mind that. And there are folks that they won't think about buying that. And you can use your adjustable combination square and do it, but you've got a reading length and a horizontal and vertical, and just a slight bit off, and that's close enough. A lot of times it's not. So I'm not saying one's better than the other, but the closer you can get, the better you'll do.
The
Jason,
longer out that you're drilling, the more accurate you need to be.
Correct.
oh yeah,
So,
and
so in a 10-inch drill bit, if you're off 1 degree, you'll be off a 1/16 of an inch by the time you get through the bottom.
yeah, and you can multiply that if you're using a twist drill over a spur or a Forstner, because one really chases the grain, looking for the soft, easy way to go down, and the other doesn't really chase the grain that much. Somebody talked the other day about drilling their tubes, and they continually buy new bits at the hardware store. You get these drilled out. I didn't question him on it, but I don't think he's buying 7mm Forstner bits or Bradpoint bits at the local hardware store, unless he's got really, really good hardware. We're going down and getting twist drill bits that match either number or letter size, that match, and it's a sharp bit, shouldn't it go? But look at how the bit is made. And you can take a twist drill bit. This is a 6-inch bit that I use for doing my penless kits. If you put this in a drill press and push down on that blank, this will walk across that blank. It will, because of the way the flutes are made and cut in. It'll heat up a slight bit and then take a hook And once it starts taking a hook, it doesn't come back. It'll take a hook.
You drop it on the floor, you bend it. The 6-inch
Oh.
drill bit.
This will never, in my shop, when I buy these for drilling pins, these won't drill anything else, ever. Yeah, I agree with you, Scott. The slightest thing will drill it up, but I don't do this in the drill press. When I drill my wooden pen blanks, that's what's going to happen with this one I was showing earlier. This is in my drill chuck, in my headstock, and I'm at about 300 or 400 RPMs. This is my material, and I will get it started on center, wind it up with my tailstock down here, just to keep it centered up, and then I will push this on by hand to drill it. And it might go in on a good day, it might go that far I have to pull it out and clean it off. Pulling it out is, and then push it back in. Push it back in. And you will drill through. It will be the straightest hole you'll drill with something like this. This is 3/16 of an inch. It won't grab. This is not strong enough to make it grab the grain and walk. If you do this with a quill, it's a lot of energy going through that quill. You don't think about it. Well, take the drill bit out, put your hand underneath the chuck real tight, and pull down on the handle and see how long it takes you to say holy and let go. Because it doesn't take long, and that'll just tell you that's how much energy that's why they quills. A quill will develop, and it will push the piece out of line. Number one, it will overheat the bit. But no matter what bit you're using, if you don't pay attention to how much strength, how much pressure you're putting on the quill, you can toast a twist rope. You can also dull the heck out of a Forstner or a brad point, or clog it up to where it won't cut anymore. So that's why my mentor, O.B. Lacoste, O.B. Shanjus, O.B. was having a problem drilling these kitless pens. And I went to visit him. It's about a 2-hour drive to O.B.'s house. And we spent the day with him, and he was telling us how hard it was. And he had the piece chucked up, the blank was being grabbed up by the jaws on his profile jaws, being held over here. And then he was pushing the drill bit in using the tailstock quill. And he'd come right out the side. And I watched him for a little bit, and I said, let's flip that around. And went the other way. It's like I walked on water. Because O.B. he wanted to do these kitless pens. He had found a whole bunch of these. Not that I would even have them. 9-cent ink pen refills. Ink pens from, of all places, I don't go Walmart. And it worked great. He was not in his prime anymore, but he loved making those kits, penless kits.
Captain Eddie,
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Randy.
about breakout when you get through a pen blank. I always use the drill short, cut long technique. What I do is I cut the blank about 1/4 of an inch too long. I measure the tube and put a mark on the side of the drill bit. I only drill till that mark disappears into the blank. And then I take the blank out, put it back on my drill, on my table saw, and then I cut the undrilled end off to the right length, about a 32nd of an inch.
That's a way to do it, really.
And it works every time, even with stuff like acrylics that tend to chip out when the drill bit breaks through the end. That way it doesn't ever break through the end.
People don't look at the mechanics of the drill sometimes. It's coming down and it's putting pressure on the bottom of the piece in order to make the cut. no matter what it does, it's going to have some pressure going to the bottom of the piece. That pressure is what blows that piece out because it's not supported. Now you can put a receiving platform that you can drill into, but if you do it out of wood or Korean or whatever, you need to move it every time you drill because you don't want to drill over a hole. You want to drill over solid. And honestly, it's a pain in the butt. I like that idea though. That's a really good idea, Randy. Double a double step. Because most of the time blanks are 6 inches long and you don't need 6 to turn a pen.
No.
Yeah.
This one here is 3 1/4 and 2. And one of the guys in made this for me, and this is a nice pen. He got artwork off my website and other things. It's got my ammo droop line on it. And you can see in here, there's right there's the joint. He taped this right onto the blank, onto the shaft, and then cast it. And same thing over here. I can just about find the joint. It's under the clip. But this is a really good job. But like I said, he had 3/4 of an inch of material to throw away. Or as Scott just now said, Randy, he didn't throw it away. He used it for a good reason. And it works out. All right. That's why we're sharing tips and tricks here tonight, folks. Everybody's got an idea on how to do something a little bit different. I'm not saying better, a little bit different than what I would probably do. And maybe your way makes it all worthwhile. Non-chat as asking me to enable the transcript. Okay, it is now enabled, and you can hide it if you choose. Here's the deal for me. I can't read that and talk at the same time. Just isn't going to work. There's our safety director, Sue's in the house. Hey, Sue.
Hey, how you doing?
All righty. How are you doing this week?
I'm coming along. I got something to show later. I moved out of my safety comfort zone of pens and did something else.
All right. Hey, don't belittle pens because everything
I like big pens.
everything you put into a pen, you can put into a bowl. And
Hmm.
everything you put into a bowl, you can put into a pen. And I'm talking technique, style, tool use, and that's where it's critical. I mean, if you make a tear out in the bowl, you make another pass. You make a tear out in the pen, you might be looking at trash. And I found that students I had when I was teaching in my shop, they want to learn about turning with a skew. We would turn pens
Yeah.
because you don't have a lot of room for error. And it's a good, simple project. It is. And when you got $1 in the kit, I used to get the kits for about $1.30. And that was a Slim Lines a long time ago. And I was working with Sergeant Joe Kelly for Freedom Pens, and I would get a donation and we'd buy 500 to 1,000 kits, and then he'd distribute them. And I made the deal with the wholesaler, not the retailer, the wholesaler to buy these in groups of 1,000. And I put them together in junk wood. If you're gonna learn something, learn it in junk wood, because then when you get to the good stuff, you're really good. I have something to show, and we'll cover drilling 1 inch by 6 inches deep. That's a Gary in Oklahoma's got. Gary, talk to me, bud.
Hey, today, or well, it actually started yesterday, got a branch of hackberry, and I was going to turn a cross, and the more I looked at it, there was a knot on the side of it. I got to figure out where my camera. in it. So instead of trying to turn across, I did a bud vase. Well, my tube is 1 inch. Actually, by the checking it, it's 10 thousandths under 1 inch. And I went in with the 1 inch Forstner bit. And because it was so long, I had to add an extension. And that gave me a slight amount of wobble. But I also found that when I got close to the knot or the branch that had been there, it did go slightly askew. And but anyway, I was able to get the full 6 inches out of it. But then sticking this in, it would only go in about that far. So then I went to a 1 inch twist drill that I had also, and it was very sharp. And I just put it in and hand turned it on it, and it reamed out that last little bit, because this is now 7 thousandths under 1 inch. So I mean, it's really tight, really a tight fit. But you know, just the pressure and everything else with the Forstner bit. And on this, darn, I keep looking at my screen is slightly off from where the camera is, but there's a branch that came out there. So that was harder than this other side. And so the density of the wood can give you a little bit of a variation. And I would say I was probably only about 3 or 4 thousandths off variation. But this is such a tight fit, it would not go in until I actually went in with the twist drill and cleaned out the sides to make it actually perfectly straight.
Oh, if you had enough head pressure, it wouldn't go in.
Well, I wouldn't force it in, but you know, it would go in about that far, and then that was when it was starting to hit that slight variation, because it was such a close fit. And then using the twist drill to go on in to clean it out, basically to ream it, then it slides in real well now.
Nice, good idea.
Just, you know, you got to use what you've got and take it for, you know, do what you have to do to get the job finished.
Yeah, well, that's why we do this, and you get some ideas. I was doing something with a 3/4 and 1 inch Forstner bit, and there's a machine shop right near me, and they did boat propellers. They're really fine work, and I took it over there and said, "Hey, can you make this 4 or 5 inches longer?" And they welded a piece on it and straightened it out, ran it through the like a lathe, like a metal lathe, but it had rollers, and it would make it true, and they were fine. I said, "Can you get some more done?" And the guy said, "About $30 a piece. I'll do as many as you want." Nope, I won't be back. Nice idea, but I'm not going to spend $30 to have a pen, a drill bit modified to make it convenient. Because I was doing the same thing that Gary just said. I'd put it in a extension, but then take the extension over to my table saw and roll it, so I could see if there was any, let's say, wop, to where you have some ride up on it. It's not as true as the lathe, but yeah, like Gary said, you got to do what you got to do with what you have.
I have a feeling that when I put the extension on that Forstner bit too, it probably did not make it perfect, because I went in as far as I could with the Forstner bit and then had to add the extension to get it to the full 6 inches of depth. And I think that was also another contributing factor to it going slightly off, about half, 3/4 of the way down.
Yeah, just let it walk away a little bit. And with something as exact as a glass tube, it's not going to bend around a bump.
No, it will not.
And being so tight, the air had nowhere to go.
Yeah. Well, you can see it's slightly going down, It's pretty tight. There's only 3,000ths difference using my set of calipers to check it out. So it's pretty accurate. I was very pleased.
Yeah, that's nice. Nice idea. We're sharing tips and tricks tonight, folks. If you've got one to share, just shout it out and let us know. We'll go to you. Remember, if you don't talk, we won't know you're there. We don't have that hand raising thing at
Tip.
all.
It's not on safety, but I do have a tip. And
Go
then,
ahead, please.
okay, everybody's got these. And if you don't, you should get one.
Is that a club for beating your boyfriend? What is it?
Yeah, I wish. No, this is actually
Aruba.
not, it's one of those rubberized things for cleaning sandpaper. And I had gotten this really for my my belt and disc sander in the garage, but I grabbed it today to see what it would do to the 3-inch discs because they get expensive after a while. And it cleans the 3-inch discs. It even cleaned my little miniature puffs that I have for my Dremel. So having one of these around the shop is a good thing, and this will last you for years and years and years.
Where'd you get it?
I got this one off of Amazon.
Mine came out of a saw shop. where they
Okay.
do saw sharpening. Yeah,
And they
I'm
s-
not-
I got the long one, but they sell them in where they cut them in half and sell them. So I'm going to cut this in half and put half in the garage and half in my shop.
yeah. My buddy Vince Welch hates to see that because Vince sells those pads.
Yes.
Don't let those rubber sticks sit out in the sun. They get
Right.
really sticky.
Yeah, well, I'm not out in the sun, but thank heavens.
My shop is why I know that.
Well, when I'm
Oh.
actually building, I push everything out in the driveway because I don't do the table saw, the router, the chop saw, all that goes out there. So I understand doing that out there, but right now it's too hot. It was 100 degrees here today. So
Whoa.
yeah, a little hot.
Ron Vincent reports that Harbor Freight has those sticks really cheap. So check it out where they got the sanding. Probably where the sanding belts and disc and all stored at Harbor Freight.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
like $4 or $5 there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not expensive at all.
And if you cut them with your bandsaw, remember a really fine blade, and that does not get along. So your 3 teeth or 6 teeth per inch, 3/8 may go through it really well, but that little fine thing probably heat up and clog up. And that can be, when it heats up and clogs up, it leaves residue on your bushings and bearings. And then you get that wobble, which none of us want.
Right. So let's talk about safety.
All right, safety. Yeah. Oh, by the way, folks, Sue is our new safety director.
And believe me, with all the cuts and scrapes I have, I should be the safety director. But anyways, my plans are to be more specific every week and to try to go in depth. And so I'll be calling the captain and he can talk me through how to do a little video out there so I can show people what not to do. I won't tell you how I know it's not to do, but the first thing we're going to do tonight is safety equipment. I know several of you have the respirators that are in conjunction with the dust extraction, and that is the best option. But if you don't have that, you need to get yourself a mask that's better than N95. There's a lot of them out there. You can get them for less than $50, and once in a while, change out the filters. Believe me, if you don't have that on, especially when you're sanding or cutting exotic woods, you will know it for the next few days. So that's the tip this week. Make sure you have a mask on and a safety helmet on. Don't just wear your safety glasses. if even a pen and the mandrel comes off, it's going to hit you at 3,000 RPM. And believe me, even though it's a blunt object, it's going to cut you. So stay safe out there.
Yeah, thank you, Sue. And then there's the point: stay safe. Start out safe and stay safe. And it's such an easy transition once you understand the hazards of what we do, we enjoy doing. When you understand those hazards, then you can understand the protection against those hazards. And I've been to club demonstrations, and the club had a rule the way you had to wear a shield to do a demonstration. And invariably, they'd have one of the key members come up and do a demonstration, and they would say, well, I can't turn with one of those masks on, with one of those shields on. My automatic response is, sorry, we missed your demonstration, but we're going to miss it. The others say, but he's a good demonstrator. No, he's not. You're a good demonstrator when you show the good, the bad, the ugly. And when you show the safe way to do it and you avoid showing the unsafe way to do it, that's when you step up and become a good demonstrator. To say, I can do this and I can cut this corner and make it work. He might be able to cut the corner. Can you cut the corner? Should you cut the corner? Is this a sprint or a marathon?
And here's another tip. It's more than just on our lathes, it's our grinders. You should at least have your safety glasses on at your grinder, but you should also have your mask on because you don't need to inhale metal shavings in your lungs. So think of how you're breathing and how much longer you want to live for your family. Keep the mask on when you're at the grinder.
Yeah, that's a great note. One of my dear friends smoked for 40 years, and his children, when he was there in high school, he wanted to go to a function, and the daughter says, Dad, I'd like to have you there, but you kind of smell smoky. And he gave it up, and he was so proud of giving it up. He needs a breathing machine. He's got to walk around the tank. And so, if he had thought about long-term from the smoke, you can also have the long-term from dust, shavings, paint fumes. I knew a guy that couldn't be in the same room if you sprayed super glue accelerant. He'd have to leave the room because his sinus system just wouldn't tolerate it. The strange things the sinus system wouldn't tolerate. All right.
Captain, there's one thing about it. If I ask everybody on this call who is the most important person in your life, I'd hear things like my wife, my kids, my husband, my girlfriend, my boyfriend, my parents. The reality is the most important person in your life is you, because if you don't take care of you, you can't take care of any of those folks.
That's right.
We have to look out for ourselves.
And they have to take care of you.
Exactly.
So you have to take that. I hate to beat the drum, but you have to take it serious because it is a life or death situation in some places sometimes. I wish we had a spot to put it, and probably when I say this, David, our master webmaster, is going to hear me and say, "Oh yeah, I can do that." The reactivity of woods, and every wood has got a different reactivity. Every one of them. I've known people who couldn't be around mesquite at all. Couldn't turn it, can't cut it, can't shape it, nothing. I have a friend of mine that can't turn Paduke. Fortunately for me, he bought a whole bunch of Paduke before he found that out. And I can turn, or I like turning Paduke. So, but there are different woods that give off, we say fumes, contacts, whatever. And there is a sheet, and I don't remember the university, I could probably find it, that puts this out, and it's it's a legal size pad of, of, of information, but it'll give you the common name, and it may be related to the species name or genus species name, and you can look it up. So if somebody gave you this stick of Australian brushwood for pen blanks, you can look it up and say, okay, if I do this, these are some of the hazards, and can you handle those hazards? Or is it worth trying to handle those hazards? So we're looking to doing that for you. Bob Grinstead out of Mansfield, Texas is with us. Hey, Bob, what you got, sir?
Let me see if I can do this. Can you hear me now?
Now you got me now.
All right. I do have a short tip here. You know, I'm always making a tenon for different things. Like this right here was the wings to the angels, and I had to make a tenon. And I used a wrench, you know, sharpened to make the tenon. And sometimes when you come back and you put a finish on it or whatever, it swells and it will no longer fit the hole that you intended for it to go into. And so I've started using a plug cutter. Y'all know what plug cutters are?
Oh, yeah.
Most people, I think, know what they are. But you can come back after you make the tenon and use a plug cutter to resize it. You know, just put it in your drill press or your drill and plug, you know, drill it back over it again, make it the right size. But the little plug cutter sets, they're cheap. They're, this one here I got at Harbor Freight, but they are cheap and easy to use. Anyway, that was my tip for today.
That's a good tip. It really is. Plug cutter. You can tell half a dozen people who deal with wood and cabinet making and carpentry and plug cutter, they have no idea what you're talking about. None whatsoever.
Yeah. Make good buttons,
Yeah.
Cover up screw holes.
Exactly. Yeah. I've got some furniture done that way.
The other thing I have, you want me to go on or you want me to save this?
No. Let's go.
Okay. The other thing I have here is my latest, what do you call it? An inside out turning.
Yep. I got a picture of that to go on our next gallery.
Yeah. Well, good.
Too cool, Bob.
Yeah. This is a wine bottle with 4 glasses. And it turned out pretty good. I did have a few errors, but I got some pictures if y'all want to see them. Can I share the screen?
That's really nice.
Go ahead. We're here.
Let me see if I can find them. Whoa, how do I do a share? There we go.
There you go.
Let's see if he'll come up here. Yeah, there he is. There's the wine bottle. And you can see that I wanted the glass large. The first time I did it twice, and I wasn't going to do it a third time, but twice was enough. But they're easy to do. They're easy to cut out, not a whole lot of turning to them. You start out with 4 pieces of wood and glue them together in a square, and where you can take them apart, put paper between them or however you want to do it so you can take them apart again. And you turn it the first time, and then you turn the little pieces around back facing each other, and you turn it the second time, and that's the actual outside, the bottle. But the first time I did this, I made a smaller glass. It wasn't as wide. And but the stem, I ended up with a 3/8 of an inch stem, and I thought that was too big, too blocky looking for the little glass I had. So I increased the size of the glass, and I decreased the size of the stem, but I almost didn't get the stem big enough. This stem is pretty small, pretty thin. So let me show you the. There's that one. Let me go all the way to the front here if y'all bear with me a minute. There he is. This is the stem. You can actually see the pattern that you're cutting out by holding something up to the edge of it. And then you can see where I've cut the bottom out. And actually the stem, I just came down, this was a 3-inch 1.5 squared is made out of a 2x6. So these are 1.5 squares. And so when you put it together, it's 3 inches. Well, this was just below the 3 inches, I thought, but it wasn't quite far enough because I think the stem could have been a little bigger. But I also got too deep. This time I went 3/4 of an inch down here on the base and 5/8 of an inch down on this side. And that turned out okay until I finished it. I painted the inside so it would show up a little better. Just painted it black and black lacquer and didn't worry too much about it because you can't see it anyway. Here's where I'm taking the 4 pieces apart. The first time I've turned the inside portion, painted it black, and now I'm splitting the 4 pieces apart. And it does have paper seams, brown paper bags, so you can bust them apart, and they come apart pretty easy. Here it is taken apart. And you have to mark them so you know where they are, and you turn all of the what was the outside, you put it toward the inside and glue them back together again. And there I'm gluing it up. And you can see my little seam. And that it looks fine, but there were sides, a couple of sides here that they would just ride up against each other and really not much of a stem. One more picture, I think. Yeah, this is the actual pattern that I used. This is what I used to cut it out. And I decided that 5/8 is deep enough, and a 1/2 inch was deep enough on the glass side to make the bottle. But let me back up one. The problem I had is when I put it back together and turned it round, like I said, the seams I didn't think were thick enough. So I tried to make them thicker. To make the seams thicker by making the bottle smaller. Well, when I made the bottom smaller, these little pieces right here are just paper thin. And one actually came out, so I had to replace it and put it back in there. But with another piece, and you can actually see the seam where where I glued it back in there. But it worked okay. It's just you can still see the seam. But anyway, that was my troubles and tribulations here with this. Just be careful when you go back on this outside that this little portion right here gets real thin super fast. If you make your bottle smaller diameter, it takes away from this little section too, and you don't realize it till it's gone. I could have lost the whole bottom. They're just held by these little paper thin pieces. But anyway, how do I stop sharing?
That's very cool. That's very cool, Bob. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
The pattern you used, did you make that yourself?
The pattern I did, but I saw somebody do this on YouTube, and there's the little piece that you can see I put back in. But you see how thin? Let me see if I can get it somewhere. See how thin these little pieces are?
Whoa.
Yeah.
That sucker is paper thin, and that's why I lost one of them. But
Very cool.
anyway,
Very nice.
just got to be careful with that. But it turned out real good. It's real easy to turn. You don't really turn a whole lot on the inside, and the outside is simple. It's nothing there to turn either. And this up here, I just taped it off and painted it. Anyway, that's it, guys. That's what I had.
Beautiful, Bob. Thank you.
Thanks. And that's made out of a 2x6. And I like that cheap material.
Oh yeah, you have to, and you got to be good with your tools. Be good with your tools. All right. We had some input put on what we talked about with filtration, etc. Tim reports his brother got lung cancer from dealing with exotic woods, stains, and finishes, and his major regret was not putting in a control system. And it can, if you just get it away from you and get it out, sometimes that will help. It might not be adequate, but it will help. Scott says that database we're talking about is at wood enormeous-database.com. And then Gary in Oklahoma put a link to it in our chat tonight. So that's where we're going. So if you'd like to get that and put it on a save. It's a lot of stuff to go through. It's easier to go through it on a computer screen than if you have to flip through the pages. And if you're like me, I'll lose the page that stuff was on. All right. We're doing tips and tricks tonight. We had a little bit of gallery in that piece with Bob just now, but his tips and tricks was on layout and design and how to hold it. And I like that idea. I would rather see that type of gallery any single week where we can get turners to explain. You know, it's a whole lot more than, you know, just saying, oh, look what I made. You know, isn't that pretty? I want to know more about it. And you do too. This, do you see the joint? This is 2 pieces turned to within about 1/8 of an inch and then put together just like this. And I did all this shaping using a template on both pieces. I used the template to shape this, template to shape this, and when I put them together, I had very little to do except sanding. Now I did this piece more than 10 years ago, and it was stored in my attic. And the super glue I used has moved a little bit. That doesn't mean I can't clean this off and fix it. Might be something I want to do for a video or a show, a meeting one night, and show you that, you know, some glues are not permanent, they do move. But being in the attic, it got a little bit of heat extreme. Sue said it was 100 degrees. She was one time I went to work on an attic fan, it was 123 in the attic. And my wife was kind of insistent I was going to fix that attic fan. Kind of glad I'm disabled now and I can't get up there and do that. Otherwise, I'd be more disabled. And oh yeah, I've been fighting the dragon. You know, a while back we talked about a project called 22 Pens, and it was a gentleman asked us to please turn 22 pens, and this would go as gifts to our troops that were undergoing treatment for PTSD, pardon me. And we did good. We did really good. A lot of our guys flipped the pens over and sent them to our contacts like Jim Selby and Doug Rowe and Ronnie Bonnet and all of them sent to the troops. But they turned the 22 pens thinking about, or per our request, because the 22 pens represented something. Every single day, 22 of our veterans who served our country take their own lives. And the PTSD programs try to turn it around. And if it's just one life a week, that's good. We're turning it around. But that's why we did the 22 pens. I've been fighting my disability claim with the Veterans Administration. I know it's been going on 8 years since I had a brain tumor removed. We found out today because of somebody's mess up at a home that I stayed 5 days in. The veterans believed I'd received pension, and that ended my claim. And I never received pension. So now I know why those people are having PTSD and how they feel like they've been abandoned. Because if you're dealing with the VA, you're dealing with a hole in the ground, my opinion. But today I got word that we may have beat the dragon, which will be nice. I closed my business to assist us in this battle. My wife wasn't very happy about that. All right.
So you want to see the thing I made?
EA can be really bad to deal with.
They can. And you're just the number on the list. Nothing else.
Yep, I've had a claim open for 6 years now.
So I know exactly how it goes.
Yeah. And I'm going to get benefits for everything except the brain tumor. And that got skipped. Even though they got 3,400 pages of my medical reports, it got skipped. All right. We're doing tips and tricks and all tonight, and if you've got one, we're glad to share it with you. Right now, we're going to pop over to Gary Bobenhausen out of Corinth, Texas. Gary, talk to me, sir.
Yeah, howdy, sir. How you doing tonight?
I'm all right, man. What's up with you?
Okay, I've been doing an awful lot of wood glue ups and taking different woods and gluing them all together. I'm using the 24-inch Bessie clamps, so they're somewhat long. What I found out, and I'm sure everybody knows, but what I found out was I take Johnson's floor wax and paste wax. I'm sorry, paste wax, and coat the bars with that paste wax, let it dry just a little bit, and that keeps my glue from drying on the bars and clogging up the little serrated parts of the bar. And if any glue drips on the bar, it just comes right off easy as pie. So I just use that Johnson's paste wax, and that works just great for me.
Fabulous.
That's a great idea.
Fabulous.
It is. And be surprised. Well, it's not surprising. Glue gets everywhere.
That's true. That's true.
I went over to Ronnie Bonnett's house one day. We hanging out talking wood turning, and he brought a Nova chuck out that you could not move the levers on. It just would not move. And he talked about he's going to get another chuck and all. And I said, give me a toolkit. Let's go. We took the back off, cleaned it out. It was full of super glue. He'd glued up a bowl, the bottom of a bowl with some cracks, and ran through the bottom of the bowl, across the tent, the mortise, into the chuck, and stayed in the chuck. And it was a matter of taking it out and taking a wire brush and cleaning off the cogs. And then, he's a good friend of mine now, and then he grabbed a can of that yellow and blue stuff and wanted to spray it all up. We almost lost our friendship over that. I said, that is probably the worst product and use of anything. And I got him some T9 from Boeing T9 spray, which dries. And we put that T9 on it, sprayed it up really well, and it worked like it was brand new. And it's still working like it's brand new, because it won't attract dust and hold dust and dirt, and it will relieve, I don't want to say relieve all the CA you get in there, Ronnie. It'll get most of the CA will get relieved. But like Gary was just not saying, it's everywhere. And sometimes it's not your best friend. Okay, let me see what else we got. Tim Hatch was here. He says, "Got to go grab some dinner." Tim sent me photographs of some work he did, pens and shaving kits. They're really nice. They're going to be the next promo I produce. Really nice. And by the way, we still collect photographs for the promos. You can send them my address, not my address, the club's address, worldwidewoodturners@gmail.com, or you can send them to our website, and Dave, our master webmaster, will forward it on to us, to me. And I'm doing these promos about once a week now, and that because there may be 30 spaces in the program for the insert. So if I use up all 30 photographs, have some left over, I roll them into the next one. I do not judge or critique anybody's work. I'm not to that level. Are you? And I'm real careful about it. I'm sensitive about it. I've been to meetings where folks had gallery and I'm sorry, the guy at the gallery would hold it. This is nice, but that's why we have a no but guarantee. Who told him he can have a but? So that's what I like about the promos. It allows us to show your work, and we showed that a little while ago. Bob Grinstead showed us that wine bottle that he did inside out on. I saw that on, maybe it was Facebook. I went through and grabbed those 6 or 8 images that he had and threw them in a file. So I'm going to use some of those images to show maybe the build up to the finished product. And considering it's made out of 2x6, that was a really nice project. But that's how we get the promos lined up. And I'll put them on YouTube, my channel, Club's channel, Facebook, my channel, Club's channel. And if you'd like a copy of it, I can get one to you. I ask you one favor though, if you see them, because I can only distribute to subscribers. If you see these promos and demos and advertisements from the club, will you please share these with your subscribers? Just click share, put a little note, and let it go. It is some of the finest wood turning in the world. I'm not real biased on that, but I think that's the way it is. Some of the finest wood turning in the world, and I like to share it with folks. Let's go to Sue. She says she's got something to show here. Sue, what do you have?
I got a 3x3 cube of maple. Don't ask me if it's hard or soft. I have no idea. It just said maple. So I decided to try a box.
Oh, nice. Now,
And but it had become a funnel as I was parting off the tail. Oh, I had to go running underneath to see if I could find it. Not only did I find the tail, but I found 2 tops that the cats had grabbed. So, but I found the tail and I was able to fix it. So there's the fix.
All right.
And it actually came out to here was the whole piece that broke out, but it was only a little piece on the inside. Now the inside is straight, but the first time that I turned it, the inside looked like a road in Western New York after the spring thaw. It was bumpy, holy, and not the holy. Okay. So what I did today was I wrapped it in painter's tape, put it back in the forge-all chuck, and sharpened a couple of tools and redid the inside. So I'm kind of happy with it. The outside is our famous 3408 with Vonix, and then I waxed it. The inside, I did put 3408, but then I put in Mahoney's wax. It's walnut wax. And the lid, it's not a tight fit. It was until I messed it up, and it's got a gouge in the top. But it was my first try at doing a little box, and I'm going to try some more. So there.
It looks good too.
That looks real nice. Looks pretty.
Thank you.
I like the breaking lines.
Yeah.
And wow, you just turned it on a good profile, and I saw that they're uniform. I mean, the grooves top and bottom of that bead are uniform, and that really makes it stand out.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I had gotten a book. It's a book by various different turners, and they had a box very similar to this, so I was copying his. The top, though, he had it rounded, and I messed up, so I decided, okay, well, we're going to make it unrounded. So it was a design opportunity. So there you have it.
Looks nice. Glad you took that opportunity. All right, now let's find out. We're talking tips and tricks. Sue said she coated the outside of that piece with blue painter's tape, and you know we all have blue painter's tape nearby. What would somebody with a tip or a trick? How else would you hold that besides putting painter's tape on it? I'm looking for the tip or trick. You can do it right here. Just let me know.
Put 2 rubber bands on it. That'll give it cushion. But the rubber bands I had were too big for this, so that's why I used the blue painter's tape. And I wrapped the blue painter's tape about 4 times around there, so I didn't get any of the marks from my jaws.
All right, I'm looking. I know one more. I'm looking for somebody to throw it out there. I don't
I've
have
used
the-
zip
Electrical
ties
tape.
before. Zip ties.
Zip
that's
ties. That's an idea, Heather. That's a good one. So there's
Yep.
Bicycle tube.
bicycle tube. All right, we're getting
Yeah,
close.
I've used that also. I dove into a lawnmower repair shop dumpster and pulled out some lawnmower tires and cut them up and made little pads. I also have you can either make it as a single tube, as a single circle, okay, and then put that in your jaws. And I've also cut up, I have closed cell foam that I make sanding mandrels with, and I cut up little sections of that to fit over my jaws too. It's thicker, and I can hold things there really solidly too.
All right, we're getting closer.
I use
Right.
shelf liner, Eddie.
Say
Shelf
again?
liner.
Shelf liner. All right. You see that? These are all
Electrical
tips and
tape.
tricks. Doug Miller, you got one?
Electrical tape.
Electrical tape is another one.
I made a set of wooden jaws.
Wow, that's a good
that was-
idea.
That was a
Yeah,
good
I've done
idea.
that. I've done that too.
All right, we're getting closer to mine, so let's just. Hey, and it's not a pop quiz. It's just I got an idea of one, so come on, like, share.
Put the tape on the
I'll take
jaws,
a-
right?
Nope, mine
No.
is. Mine comes from a hardware store, almost pre-assembled. It's called the PVC coupler, and I would take the I can spell it, PVC coupler, and I would cut a section out of the side, so I'd have maybe a 1/4 inch, 3/8 of an inch slot, and you can snap it around your piece. It will grab the piece. It won't leave any tooth marks or teeth marks. And if you want to add a piece of shelf liner or rubber band or anything else, it go underneath and you get a uniform clip. That's my idea, not the only idea, my idea. So, and that's why we're here to share these ideas.
I use those couplers when I make my vacuum chuck pieces. I use the PVC couplers and mount them in a piece of wood.
I use a piece of PVC like that and put a band clamp around the outside, so I can hold on to any size piece I want.
Exactly, exactly. I did what we just now heard Gary talking about, using it to hold things for your vacuum chuck. I just did a faceplate for one of my friends the other day, and it wasn't a faceplate, but I gave him a plate that fit on his faceplate that was grooved out to where you can stick a 3-inch coupler or a 2-inch coupler or 1-inch coupler, put it in there and I use wax paper to make it fit tighter, and you shove it down on there, and that will get, once you get the draw started and you lock up, you can put any kind of adapters on it you want. I mean, from doing those little medallions like I like to do for the kids, grandkids, and great grandkids. I like to play with the decoration on them, and you can knock them off center a little bit. Just raise the lower on and then crank up the vacuum. And for those not familiar with vacuum chucking, you know, if you get up to 30 ounces on vacuum chuck, you okay? Why are you shaking your head, Gary?
That's too high a pressure. You're going to hurt your wood. if you get thin wood, you turn it, yeah, I can talk, yes. If you turn your wood down thin with 30 inches of pressure, you're gonna crack something. I like to stay around 21, 20, 21.
Yeah, with my Harbor Freight air conditioner vacuum pump, I'm looking at here. I can get 21 or 22 ounces pretty regular, but you do a 6-inch coupler of PVC, and I like to use this gasket material. You can buy it Pep Boys or O'Reilly's. It's really thin, and I cut my ring out of that. You put a plate or a platter on that thing, you can't yank it off. If you think it won't hold on the vacuum chuck, you can't yank it off. And remember, most of the time you're doing the vacuum chuck for the finished cuts and finishing. But it's I wish we could get one of our members, and this is it's a hit. Dane's not with us, he's busy tonight. But to do something with vacuum chucking and show you how simple but how complex it can be. And it is a great way to hold difficult pieces to put the finish on, or to do decorations on, or to remove the mortise, or clean up the mortise, or remove the tenon. It's adequate holding strength for that, and it's not the ton of money that. Don't go to the catalogs. Let's go bottom line. Don't go to catalogs. Let's get into doing it in your own shop.
Hey, Eddie.
Hey.
Jim Duxbury says he has some tips to show. And also, Michelle, she wrote something as a tip. She's probably working, but she gave us a tip on chat. And Scott Hampton, there's a couple of projects that he's juggling. One depending if I can get a hold of a straight log that is 6 to 8 inches in diameter and 24 inches long. So that's what's going on.
That comment's for, I'm supposed to do the demo next week. That's why I'm juggling 2 of them. It depends on if I can get that log from a friend of mine this weekend.
Gotcha.
If I can't, then I'm going to jump to the other project. So.
Yeah, you sent that to everybody.
Yeah.
That's okay. It's always nice to talk to you, Scott.
All right, we're going to go to Jim in a moment. Jim, you have to talk to me for me to get you up on Spotlight because I can't see you. Jim?
Want me?
There you go. Now
I got him.
All right, now you spotlighted, Jim.
Hey, Ken, let me know when you had enough here. I'll stir it up.
Stir it up.
You see that?
Not yet. Still coming. There we go.
Now it is. Ooh, I like the flats.
I did a class with handicapped and blind. And one of the hardest parts they have is finding the bevel on a low angle scraper. So I took the tool out of the woman's hand and I sanded the back off of it. And I liked it so well, I've done it to all of mine. You can pick this up behind your back and it registers in your hand. Did you ever go down into deep hollowing situation and have the tool upside down?
Oh yeah, or just have it on a positive in it.
See?
The positive is not the negative.
You got it. Doesn't work very well. Anyway, this works so well. I've done it to all of my scrapers, and I just love it.
Beautiful idea.
Okay, next. You know the knob on the end of your, I do a lot of these. In fact, I've got a whole shop full of equipment you've never seen. You know the little knob on the end of your turning that you end up chiseling off or whatever?
Yeah.
If you use that little oscillating saw, it takes it off just beautiful. You don't even have to look at it. I mean, it planes it right off.
Nice idea.
Okay.
Yeah, I do that. I actually have something similar, only I use my Dremel. I have one of those reciprocating hand pieces.
Yeah, yeah.
And it works the same way. And you get a good, a good clean surface, almost no sanding if you do it right.
Oh, I take this off with this thing, and then I have a 3-inch or a 2-inch sanding disc in my drill press. I just touch it up on that, and in minutes I'm done.
I have one of those tools that was expensive. I think I paid $29 at Big Lots.
I had this thing for 5 years before I finally picked it up. I thought, why don't I use this thing? And damn, I've used it for all kind of stuff. Okay, here's another one. Oh, you'll like this one. I never open a can of finish. I never open a can of thinner. See that little metal screw in there?
Yeah.
When I get a brand new can of finish, I punch a hole in it and put a metal screw in it. Because I never use enough to want to open the can. All I do is turn it over, loosen the screw up, put some on a rag and use it. This can of tung oil is from 1999. It has about this much tung oil on the bottom, and it's still good. Okay.
Wow.
It's almost cheating.
It
Yeah.
is. That's a pretty cool idea.
But
Yeah, I like that idea.
Here's even my concoction. This is polyurethane and thinner. This is, Lord only knows what this is. I have no idea. But anyway, I think this is the only can I opened. I need a lot of this. I opened that can. All the rest of these have never been opened.
Oh, nice. Oh,
Good idea. Never get oxygen in there.
You got it.
Yeah.
And it's a good use for those round head metal screws. You know, you can't use those anymore. There's nobody what the hell to do with them. Anyway.
Especially the slot head.
Yeah, that's what I got. I got 8,000 of them left, I think. This is my little, this was a Delta lathe. I've redone it. But anyway, I put wooden handles on it because I don't like the steel handles. In the back here is a clamp, and I made a hand wheel out of, I don't know, walnut or something, but it's got a track in it. And when I want to lock the hand wheel, all I do is flip this lever up, and it locks that in any position I want. There it's locked.
That's nifty.
Yeah, I like that too.
When you want to drill a hole in something, or you want to stand on something or whatever, you don't have to mess around. It's no indexing, but it's all black on here because every now and then I forget to take the brake off. You know how that goes. You've been there.
Yeah.
But anyway, I've used that thing. Unbelievable. This is a wedgie sled. I don't know, does anybody use wedgie sleds?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Most wedgie sleds, they cut this side right off, this other side here. And when you cut your piece off, it falls off and it tears the corner off the miter. So I made this and I kept the other side. So when I cut this piece, here's the gauge. When this piece cuts off, all I do is put a long pencil with the eraser side down. When I push this through the blade, I just hold that straight down and it doesn't fall off of anything. It just stays right on that side of the board. I love this thing. I started using this. In fact, I set it with wedgie, the Wixie gauge. This is a 90-degree line from the saw cut. And I transferred that down. This is a 90-degree line. I clamped the whole sled in a vise. This is a mechanic's vise. I clamped the whole thing standing up on end. And there's screws in here so my gauge sticks to the surface of this. Anyway, I set this one at 0. And then I set this bottom one to half of what I want. I'm setting this to 15 degrees here. Then from here, I re-zero it. So you're not compounding your problem, you re-zero it and then set the top one to 30 degrees. And I love this thing now. I still don't do segmenting, but I do like a top ring for a bowl or something. I want a 12 segment or a 6, this would be a 6 segment bowl or a piece. But it cuts, when your piece is laying out here on this board with a pencil pushing down on it, you push it through the saw and it's absolutely perfect.
Great idea.
And these are hold down, so I don't have to get my fingers near the thing. You can see I have hold downs.
Yeah, that's a great idea too.
But that thing really works. I just love it. Okay, what's next? Oh, long ago when I started wood turning, I decided I was going to buy one kind of chuck and I'm not having anything else. All my chuck keys turn the same way. All my jaws fit the other jaws, the chucks. One of the problems is when I pick up this red chuck here, I don't know the OD and the ID of what it grabs. So I made templates. This is the smallest tenon that chuck will grab. This is the largest tenon that chuck will grab. This is the smallest socket that chuck will fit in. This is the largest chuck or socket that'll fit in. I have yellow ones, white ones, blue ones, black ones. But I took the chucks apart. I put masking tape around the jaw itself, just spray the back and then spray the template. This is the little jaw. See, that's the smallest template or tenon that'll grab. That's the biggest one. There's the smallest socket.
Good idea. I like that.
Here's a drawing of it. This is the minimum ID, minimum or maximum ID, and a minimum OD and minimum ID or ID OD. Anyway, I love it. I've got a lot of chucks and you spend more time opening and closing them than you do using them sometimes. This just works. Oh, and it also has a hole drilled in it. They're all on a string, so I got a whole ring of them. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, what material were those made out of?
What?
What material did you make your templates out of?
Oh, these are just 1/4 inch or 1/8 inch masonite.
Okay.
Yeah. When I use a spur drive, I like to set it with usually use a block of wood, a mash hammer of some kind. And that does all right. But I made a handle, out of 3/4 T with a 3/4 inch pipe nipple. This fits right over and it rests on that shoulder.
Oh.
So you can use that mash hammer and beat that thing right in the wood. You can drive it right through without doing any damage.
What an idea.
You take a
May I add something in there that he did? He drilled through the bark on.
oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, usually when I cut this blank out, if I'm using a chainsaw, I scarf that off, but this has been chiseled out. Anyway, I take a 3/4 T and I screw the nipple into it. Then I saw the nipple off. And then I file that end, and that's the striking surface. And then the other end, oh, here I made a handle. And the threaded end, I just taper this a little bit and I strip it into there. It works great. Just taper a little bit and run it right into the pipe threads. Here's how I do it in the vise. But this is the striking end. And I take the other end of the nipple. This end's been cut off. And that's good for going against the spur drive. This end I thread into here nice and tight. Then I tighten that on the handle. And you end up with this spur driver. You can drive, especially big ones. It's really nice on big ones.
What do you put inside the pipe?
Nothing. You put this right over the spur drive, right down to here.
Oh, I see.
And beat on it. And that way you're not putting any pressure or anything on the Morse taper.
Yeah, I like that idea. Yeah,
Cheap too.
yeah, you're not gonna deform your taper at all.
No, no, no.
Neat idea.
I use it all the time. I love it. Oh, this is my lathe. I have a 3520 BA, the A model. And my wife accuses me of cannibalizing things. And this has been redone. Here again, all the handles are wood. I don't have any metal handles. These are all wood. On the end here's a turbine. I'll show that later. That's a air turbine. Over here on the wall is my air hose. So when I want to run this in, I take the air hose and I hit it on the top here and it runs that in about 400 RPM. And if I want to run it out, I hit the bottom and it runs it out at 400 RPM.
That's a good idea.
I took the door off and put a plexiglass door on there so I don't have to open the door to see what speed I'm on. I'm always changing speeds, so I can just look at it. That dizzy cage they give you, I cut all the bars off of it, cleaned the bar up, and that's a hanger for my dust collector. I've got a wing nut on here that I can position this and put it anywhere I want. On all of these things, this is the on-off switch. And if something starts flying, you got to reach around here to shut it off. Underneath here's three plugs. This is a remote on-off switch with a magnet made out of a handy box. And I bought these switches from a surplus place for 10 bucks a piece. I'm about out of them now, but anyway, that's an on-off switch. There's two other plugs here. One is the same thing as this, only instead of being on-off, it's a momentary switch. So when you're drilling, you put that against your tailstock here, and you hold on to your drill chuck and your hand wheel here, and you lean against that, and it comes on. And when things start smoking and burning, you just back up and it goes off. There's also another prong here, plug here, somewhere hanging on the wall is a foot switch. You can plug that in and put a foot switch on it. You can't use the momentary or the foot switch just for regular use. You use that when you want it and unplug it when you don't want it, because you can get in trouble if you bump that thing or step on the switch or something. But when you want it, you plug it in, use it, and then unplug it. My wife wanted to use it. Oh, on the bottom here is a piece of granite. Sometimes they make granite the wrong size or something. I got a piece of granite and threw it on here. It makes an excellent weight and shelf. I'll show the headstock or the tailstock here. My wife wanted to use this, and I get tired of lifting this dizzy tailstock. So underneath the tailstock is a round washer. I cut the sides off of it and made an indexing. This is an indexing handle here. So to get rid of my tailstock, also you can buy these $300 hinges that just hinge it around the side. But anyway, you release this lever, pull this lever, tighten this lever, and then up here is a hook on the wall. You hook that in this eye bolt, and you press that button, and this tailstock goes straight up in the air.
That's a cool idea.
Okay, you don't have to slide it off the end of the lathe. It just lifts straight up.
Goes straight up. Here's the washer underneath the lathe. I cut the sides off of it. This is a rod with a spring and a handle out here. Oh, this spring. I looked all over for this spring. You'll never guess where the spring comes from. That's the roll, you know, the toilet paper roll. Your toilet paper holder. Yeah. I was in Habitat. I said, damn, that's exactly what I need. I bought a toilet paper holder and took the spring out of the axle. It works perfect. Anyway, that's in the use position right there. It would be in the lathe. When you pull the handle and lock this lever, it locks that thing in a 90-degree position. So from here, it can go straight up. You hook the hook in there and it goes straight up in the air like that. And then it hangs there. Oh, also over my lathe, this is a 2-foot diameter exhaust fan, goes out the wall. That's a guillotine to shut it off for like in the wintertime. Well, there's the foot switch hanging there. That's a foot switch. But for $100, you can buy a lift from Harbor Freight. I think it's good for 500 pounds or something. This weighs about 80. So I just leave it up. It hangs up there for weeks sometimes. You had enough?
No, keep going.
I always wanted a 20-inch sander. All my life, I wanted a 20-inch sander. And finally, I thought, doggone, I got a 20-inch lathe, so I made one. And this is a piece of MDF, I think, with a 6-inch faceplate. I'll show the back of this thing. Oh, I went the wrong way. This is I bought the sanding disc from Klingspor. It's a 20-inch sanding disc, 80 grit. This is the back of it. If you ever make one of these, make sure you set those damn set screws. I used this about 3 or 4 times, and one day I shut the lathe off, and that thing weighs about 25, 30 pounds. And that came off of there, and if you ever seen the Tasmanian Devil, that thing ran all over the shop, was jumping high as the bench, and you just get out of the way. Anyway, I use the set screws now. But the neat part of this is you can slow that thing down to 50 RPM if you want. You could do your fingernails on it. You've got to have a dust collector, and it's got to have like a little chute here to direct the stuff. But anyway, that's my dust collector hanging in a little different position. And I made a shelf for it. It's absolutely gorgeous. It about 1500 RPM. It just eats wood.
I like that holder that you have for your dust collector, the bar that goes into your lathe. I like that. I have a terrible time adjusting my little dust collector on a stand, and I like that. That's a neat idea.
And if you don't like it, you pull the little pin on the side, pull it out, and let it hang behind there someplace. It's I can't imagine what they use that stupid cage for, but anyway.
That's a safety cage, Jim. Be careful.
Let me tell you what you use that cage for and how it saved my butt.
Really?
A couple of times. I used it for roughing large uneven pieces. If I put a 20-inch log on the lathe and started turning a vase, I've made some very big pieces. And you're starting off between centers, and if your wood is a little bit punky and your centers can come out, or you have a catch or something, that cage is a lifesaver.
Not me. Well, mine isn't anymore.
Right. Well, mine is not on my lathe either anymore. But trust me, it has saved my bacon quite a bit.
I've had my 3520 for 15 years, and that cage is still wrapped in the original cardboard that it came in.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Rules here. We can't talk about bypassing safety. Okay.
Oh yeah, you got it. I don't even know what the next one is. Oh, I turn Morse tapers, wooden Morse tapers, and I've got jigs to do this. And this is a pen press. I know you love to spend $50 for a pen press, but You put one of these in the headstock and one of these in the tailstock, and it makes a gorgeous pen press.
You know, I was given an actual pin press because I did it for probably a year and a half, and I still do it that way because it presses so much straighter and easier than a pin press.
Yep.
Yep, I made mine out of Corian.
Well, I put Corian ends on this now. I don't know if they show a picture of that or not. I don't know what's in here next, but I put Corian ends on here, 1/2-inch Corian on both of them. And that's it. I've done enough tonight. I have equipment you've never seen. I have all kinds of stuff. But anyway, love it.
You haven't done too much, Jim. You did what we're looking for, bud. Share not.
Enjoying this.
You
stuff, right, and I like those tips.
You want more?
Sure.
No, you had enough of me tonight.
All right.
That's not true, Jim.
What?
Go ahead and show us what you
Show us.
got.
Yeah, show us some more.
I'd like to see it.
Keep going, Jim.
Besides, you're saving me a lot of trouble. I'm going up to the shop to get my stuff and you're showing. I don't go out there.
No.
Wonderful. Show it. That's okay.
Do some other stuff.
That's
I'll
what the
see what
evening
else
is
I got here.
dedicated to.
I'll see what else I got on here. Oh, I don't know. I got here's
You know what would be great is to get the instructions for that sled and send them in and post them on our webpage so people can make that sled. That's a fantastic little sled you made.
Well, thank you. I could. Oh Lord, I'm looking at some of the other stuff I got here, but I've got some of that stuff I could probably send in.
Yeah, send it to David, and if he needs more
Absolutely,
information,
please
he'll
do.
get back to you.
Let me see if I can do. This is a sled I use for a bandsaw. If I could only have. Can you see that now?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is a 90-degree sled. If I could only have one tool in my shop, it'd be a bandsaw, hands down. The fence on a bandsaw is a pain in the neck. It can be set, you can use it, but this is a 90-degree sled. This is made out of plywood. I have no idea what order these in. I should, anyway, by doing this, I can hold anything I want at 90 degrees. A bandsaw fence will cut a slab a certain thickness, but if you want to cut an S shape or you want to cut corner to corner or something, you can't do that with a bandsaw fence. This, you can cut anything you want. And once you've done it for a while, you don't use it at all. You just put a line on the top of the board, whatever you want, a straight piece or whatever, and cut it. I start to cut here with it. I use hand screws. I always use wooden clamps around a blade. When I get to the other end, I stop the saw, take the clamp off, put it on the other end, and finish the cut.
Does that compress things around your blade at all? Having it on the cut part?
It does. I suppose it does. But this is so close to the cut, and this is so far away that it doesn't do it usually.
I see. Okay.
I don't know. I'm just showing these. I haven't got these in any order, but that's what it looks like.
Yeah, it's always a good idea to keep your fingers away from the blade.
Oh,
If you're
yeah.
if you're cutting something like that, your hand's too close to it. If you're just holding the piece by yourself, yeah, that's a great idea.
Here it is, just cutting a straight piece in half. So I cut 10 by 10 pieces, and I cut them corner to corner. I don't show that, but here's when it's almost done. If I do have trouble with pinching, sometimes on pine or some of the softwood, it will pinch. I stick a shim in back here and then clamp it.
Okay.
There you go. There you go. That's a way around that. Okay, great.
Here's this is absolutely useless. This is for show, okay? There's absolutely no reason you would do this. This is just show. But anyway, you draw an S shape on there and you actually get done, you can take it apart. You can't do that with a bandsaw fence.
Yeah, I like that. The 90 degrees, you keep that constant. And
Yep.
that's one of the problems I've had, that I can't keep that 90 degrees constant. I like that idea.
Well, and when you take this a step further, if you wanted to cut this from this corner to this corner, you can clamp it on here, set the table at that angle and cut it at that. You could cut this whole thing at a different angle, a specific angle. So it just works. I just love it. I have tools you've never seen. I have a lot of them. Here's, let me see what I'm looking at here. Okay. This is making, I'm going to make a bowl out of this. And I take these are 10 by 10, I think, or 12 by 12, but these are all different sheets that I have cut up on the bandsaw and then run through my sander. I glue them all together, and then I cut this corner to corner. When you cut this corner to corner, a bandsaw cut's not a good glue joint. But this side here and the other side are good glue joints. So when you take those, you put them together and glue them together, you've got stripes going diagonally through the whole thing.
Oh, cool.
Okay. I use this on all kinds of stuff. And here's how it's done. I set it on end. Oh, this blade I got by accident. I got to the store. They said they had these, I think it's 3/4, 3-tooth blades. When I got there, they didn't have any. And the guy says, all we got is a 3-2 blade, which I'd never heard of. That's 3 teeth for 1 inch, 2 teeth for 1 inch. Oh man, does it work? I'm glad. It costs twice as much, okay? It's $50 or something. But anyway, here's how I start to cut. That's coming in at one corner. And then I go to the other side, that's coming up the other corner. And that gives you this cut, this corner to corner cut.
That's pretty cool.
I do this on pen blanks, on table legs. If you do this on a table leg, you can make 4 table legs that exactly match. They're dead on perfect. And the only problem is when you look at the table from the side, everybody on this earth says those legs are crooked. And it has had a framing square on it hundreds of times, I swear. But you would swear those legs are crooked, but they're not. Anyway, I'll end up turning a bowl blank out of this. Oh, another thing. A good tip I just learned. I'm going to turn a round bowl out of this so the corners are going to get cut off. When these things are in the flat, they float all over the place. You know that. So I drill a hole through this corner and this corner, big enough for a spike. And before I put glue on there, I drill the holes, then I put glue on there, stick a spike through there, and you can clamp it up and they don't float anywhere.
Oh, good idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea. You keep them sliding.
I learned the hard way, I'll tell you, man, I'll tell you. That saved me.
Makes me feel ashamed I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't learn.
I don't know what else I got. Let me see what else I got on here. Okay, I show a flat sled. I won't show too many more of these things. I have to get this open. Where'd you guys go?
Okay, while you're looking it up, Jim, I got to share. Michelle said when you're working with resin or other products requiring nitrile gloves, double them up. And if you destroy the outside glove, just slip it off and put a new one on top of it. You don't have a problem with sweaty hands, and you don't have a problem getting a new one on. And that's a good idea. Thank you, Michelle. All right, what do you have there?
All right. This is a bandsaw sled. A lot of times I want to cut little pieces. This is a piece of, I think it's 1/8 inch masonite with a couple of runners on it. This thing's old. And on the end, it's a stop block. On the end of my saw is a stop block. So you cannot cut this sled in half, no matter what you do. You see the stop block here and the stop block here. There's a ruler on the top of here. There's a thumb screw on the end of here. This is a piece of poplar or something. But if you're cutting pen blanks, like 2-inch pieces or something, you can put them in here and you can cut them all day and cut them to the right length. This is what it looks like. You can tell this is old. It's pretty well, I should make a new one. But these are pen blank marks here. If you want to cut 1-inch pieces or 2-inch pieces, it just works great.
The stop block is a little simpler. I made one I saw in Wood Magazine that had an adjustable stop on the that was on the side closest to us here, and it stopped on the edge of the table, and it was adjustable. But I like the one you have. It seems to be fair. This is one simple rig.
This fits on all kinds of things. It works good on angles. It really works nice. Let me see what else I got. You sure you haven't had enough?
Matt, have we had enough?
I've not had enough. I've got 3 bandsaw jigs myself, and I'm learning stuff by the bucket load here. So
here's one you'll love. You'll like.
Here I am, Jim.
Yeah, I should have put these all. I never dreamt you'd want to see all these.
Actually, one of the things that I've learned also is that simplifying the bandsaw jigs is really helpful, because I have some complicated ones and I use the simple ones a lot more.
Can you see this?
Yes.
Okay. Every now and then, well, this is not in order. Let me go backwards here or something, figure out what, this is what it looks like. There's a couple of magnets in the bottom of this. I do drill a few holes in my tabletop once in a while. This has got a hole just to register this thing. This is making a bread knife. Do you ever make something with a handle on it? You can't cut it on your bandsaw?
Oh yeah.
This thing is nothing but a spacer, and I'm cutting this out. This raises it up so you can cut on here all day with. There you can see the.
Okay, first, a wood bread knife will cut bread?
Ooh, it works great. No, I buy the replacement blades out of bread making machines. They probably make at least 150 or 200 of these a year.
Well, so you're inserting a blade inside the wood somehow? I gotta see these.
Yeah,
too.
I put a blade on the end of that. Yeah. Oh my God, is it sharp? Oh, I get cut looking at it. In fact, I made a guard. I put the guard on the blade before I screw it on a knife, because otherwise I get cut. Anyway, these are turned. I could show a little bit of that. I cut the other end off. When this end is square on here, that's one center, and the other center's on my knife handle here. And I turn the whole handle to this, and then cut it out. But anyway, this is what that's what that thing looks like. And when you put it on your saw, it looks like this. You don't have to have holes through this. Sometimes they go a little nuts with these things. There's holes through this just so the sawdust goes down through. But it's got a cut in the back of here. You just slip that over the back of the blade and drop this through the hole in the table. And you've got a riser block. You can cut things with handles. You can make spoons and knives and all kinds of stuff with it.
That's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I've got a
Whatever.
request, Jim. Do you have a picture of your completed bread knife? I do, but I wish I could show you. That's all right. I don't want to interrupt your stream of consciousness. You can see there's a handy box on the back of here on the saw. That box. Inside the saw, I've mounted a relay. So when I turn the saw on, it turns 110 volt circuit on, and my light's plugged into that. So as soon as I turn the saw on, my light comes on, or anything else I want. Anyway, I'll stop the screen share here.
Hey, Jim,
Yeah.
you know that piece of pine that you cut that was like this? You know, this is what I used that for.
Wait, I can't see. I'm on a
All right,
different.
hold on, Sue. I'm gonna link you in here. Gotta go find Sue. I'm gonna add a spotlight now.
There you go, Jim. When I cut some of those boards like you did with the squirrelies, and I made a bunch of these one year, and it's a form, and I glued up veneer and put clocks in them and gave them away for Christmas one year. So
how neat.
So when you're talking about doing the curves, you can use those as forms for bending wood.
So,
yeah.
Sue, you were talking about using it as a form. Are you referring to steam bending the wood?
Oh no, you didn't have to steam bend these. You wet them the day before, clamp them up in the wood, and the next day when it's dry, you separate the pieces of wood and just put in wood glue.
That's
very
awesome.
sparingly, and then put it back in the frame, glue it up, and after it's glued up, you take your hole, and there's a metal spike you can see here, and it comes out and it actually cradles it there. And I don't know if there's 5 layers there. So
well,
yeah.
Sue, with this jig, you can cut those out of a flat piece of wood. You don't have to glue up. You don't have to glue up anything. You can cut these out of a 3/4. You can cut that out of a 1.5 inch piece of wood.
Well, that's true. That's true with that jig. But at the time, I was playing with veneer.
And once you've cut one, you have a template for 2.
Well, that's right. This is, well, you've all seen these, I think, for cutting round stuff.
That's the safest way to cut around.
Yeah.
We've all held a dowel, pushing it through a bandsaw, and lost our fingerprints.
No. Anyway, I cut all kinds of things on this. This is a wine bottle that didn't work, wooden wine bottle. You can also cut radiuses, you know, mark the radius and cut a radius on the end of it. It's not just for cutting logs off. I use that sometimes. Sometimes I cut the other way to put a crown on it or put a V in it to make it fit something else. I use this a lot. I didn't show, like I say, I don't have these. You can see in here, there's 1-inch marks. So I can also cut things off roughly to length. It's not precision, but anyway.
That's pretty good. I like that one.
Nifty ideas.
Go ahead, do something else.
All right, members, we're doing tips and tricks.
Keep going, keep going, keep going.
All right, but hey, we have some other members in there.
Yeah, I'll let the other guys do something.
All right. Ron Vincent says he's got a bread knife to show. Ron, talk to me, Ron.
Jim, let's come back to you next week.
I had to unmute it.
There he is. There's Ron.
I'm here.
Go ahead, sir. I'm going to pop you up right now.
Okay. There, Matt, is a bread knife turned on the lathe. It has a serrated blade on it. Get it back away so you can see more of it. But I keep the cover on the blade because, as Jim said, they are really sharp. You can buy the blades on Amazon. So I made like a half a dozen of them. Still have most of them, but it's just screwed on. Blade is.
Very nice. Thanks, Ron.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
That is beautiful.
Is there an accepted like width of bread slice?
Well, I left like 3/4 of an inch between it.
I got you. Okay.
Because basically you're sawing the bread. It's a serrated knife. So you can make it any thickness you want up to that 3/4 inch.
Yeah, that's not a depth gauge. It's not a depth gauge. It's just a holder.
Just relief.
Yeah.
All right. Really nice, Ron. Thanks for sharing that.
You're welcome.
And that's what we're doing, folks, sharing information. And if you've got an idea of a tip or a trick that we can use tonight, jump in with us and share. Remember, we're only here to share information. That's why we did this tonight.
I've got another idea for the gauges for your chucks.
All right. Don't keep it to yourself, Gary. Hold on.
Yeah. It's a little bit different than his, but I like the color coding. And I do a lot of 3D printing. And this was the very first one that I did. And I do them with the size of the chuck. These are for the Nova. And then I also did the minimum and the maximum so that when I'm on the lathe, I can put these down and, okay, which chuck do I need for this particular one? And then I did another one for the 70 millimeter. And then I started actually doing some mortises. So I had to go back and make some mortise ones for the same chuck, and I did the same color coding. So, there's different ways of doing that. And I did these just all on the 3D printer for the 4 different sizes. I've never done the mortise one for the really big one. I don't know if that would be an awfully large bowl or something. But this is another idea. I got 3D printing.
What are you up to?
Print up some of these gauges.
Thank you. Appreciate sharing, Gary. And I tell you, I've seen a lot of demos, including some right here, where the turner will turn a tenon or mortise and they don't fit because they're eyeballing it. And that's close. Close is for hand grenades. That's and with a template like that, and I have my favorites made out of corian hanging on the side of my lathe. Let me see if I can go to that. Okay, right there is my number 2, and the mortise is on one side, the tenon is on the other, and it's corian, and it's got 2 magnets in the back of it, and it snaps right there. And I have one for the number 2, the number 3, the spigot jaws, the profiles, all of them. I have one for each one of them, and they sleep on the rack for the chucks. And say chucks because I am not a fan of changing chuck jaws. I am not. And don't get me started on these things, the snap-ons, snap-off. That sounds really great if you're in an operating room with no dust. All right, Howard King has something to show. Howard, talk to us, folks.
Okay, I got a few things. I got a robust American Beauty, and I do lots of drilling out for big vases, tall vases, 12, 15 inches, and turning the screw, the drill bit in kind of rough. So I made this fits into the hole, and this fits around the handle, and that way that gives me leverage. And it works real good on drilling. So anyway, that's
an idea. Levers work. We used levers when we built the pyramids. I mean, it's.
And I guess everybody uses a one-way live center thing. And so what I do on my tenons, I always use tenons. I don't use dovetail or the mortise. And so I made this jig, and I don't know if you can see, it's got some nail tips here. This one's for the 50 millimeter jaws. This is for the 80, the Titan, Nova Titan jaws. And this is for the 100 scroll hole jaws. And so what I do, I get it flat. I get my piece flat. I put this on there and just lever it over, and it scribes all these lines for each of your jaws.
That's a cool idea.
That is.
Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
I like that one. That's cool.
See?
Yeah.
And this just hangs down by my lathe. And I just, get it when I need it. So
nice idea.
Pull that up one more time. I want to picture it.
Do a screen grab.
All right. Yeah, that's great. Thanks.
Can you tell?
Yeah.
And what you got to do is you got to get your center point here, and then get your measurements, and then drill this out, the diameter of this, which I think is 3/4. I think. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's standard on those is 3/4 of an inch.
But you get so you said you don't want to close your jaws all the way in. For a perfect circle, there's a gap, I guess 1/8 of an inch or 3/16 inch gap between the jaws is the perfect gripping thing. So take half of that inside measurement to go from here to here for the 50 millimeter, and then the Titan, Nova Titan is 80, and then the Stronghold 100 is, of course, half of that. Okay, so anyway, that's, I don't know, but it saves me lots of time and trouble.
I like that idea.
And one other thing is, I do lots of vases out of a whole log. And so several years ago, you take a tape measure or a ruler and you try to find half. So I made my own ruler. And I put 0 here, and it goes out to 10. So I do up 20 each log. So I just, wherever the end of the log is, I try to match it up, like say 5 and 5 or 7 and 7. And then I just put a mark there, turn it, do the same thing, mark it. There we go. We got the center. Does that make sense? Or
sure it does. I learned.
Sure.
That's great.
And I think you can buy, metal, real good ones. I think Tim Yoder, he makes one, something like that. But this is so old, you see it's gotten wet and stuff, lay around the shop and everything. It's got spray on it, so anyway. And I've used it for a bunch of other things too. You see a hole. So anyway, and I got one more, if that you don't mind.
Oh, we don't mind.
Hey, like that scraper. I made this a long time ago. I went to the junkyard and got a car spring. So that's a spring from a car. And of course, that's just a 1.5-inch metal water pipe. And the handle I turned from an old oak porch post. And so, of course, this is carbon steel, but it's pretty tough. But I made this a long time ago, and it used to be just a regular scraper. But when I came out with the idea of negative rate scraper, it suddenly became a negative rate scraper. But anyway, if you're doing a real big old bow or something like that, you get lots of leverage. You can get in there and do it, and that thing will do it.
Yeah, sure would.
And it's
Good
dangerous
sweeping
too. It's dangerous. So if anybody sneaks in my shop when I'm working, don't know it, they better watch out, because
It would be dangerous.
that's pretty dangerous thing. Okay.
Let's not discuss that. It's called intent. Let's not talk about intent. All right. Thank you.
I got one more.
Uh-oh,
I made this
one
I
more.
made this one a long time ago. After I find the center of that log, I just tap that nail in it and put a pencil fit right in there, sharp pencil bill, and just draw around so I can bandsaw whatever it is. But anyway, it's just a piece of quarter inch plywood that I rip, and I put holes here every half inch. So down here, well, I can't turn a 36-inch bow, so I'll stop there at 11, 22-inch, pretty big there. But anyway, I don't know. I guess everybody's got something like that.
Yardstick works great.
Pardon?
A yardstick works great. Drill holes in a yardstick.
Oh, yardstick, yeah.
Now you're talking old. You're talking yardsticks.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Howard. Appreciate you sharing that idea. Yeah, I was someplace with the wife the other day, and she was going to measure something. She says, "Can I have a yardstick?" And the lady on the counter looked like you just asked for keys to an alien spacecraft. I mean, a yardstick? What the hell is a yardstick? We all grew up with one. And I knew better than to touch my mom's. I knew better. See, I got all my fingers, because she would have broke them all if I touched her yardstick. So, good. We're sharing, folks. It's called Tips and Tricks. Susan?
Doug Miller's got something to show.
Where'd Doug Miller? He was not in his chair a minute ago.
I'm here. I'm here. Here we go. We've all talked about the thin parting tools, and just real quick, I mean, basic butcher knife. You can see there I've cut off the edge. I've actually shaved it all the way back, but I've taken that front 2/3 and just really cut it back. I use it that way. Only sharpen the one side, and that way I've got what used to be the edge now has a good sharp edge to do the parting. And then my dad said, that's not thin enough for, you need something even thinner. Reciprocating saw blade. He did that one for me. Just an old saw blade. He didn't even buy the blade. He got that somewhere at a club, I guess. There again, just sharpen the one side. What used to be the teeth are up, and it cuts a real nice thin curve. Every once in a while, though, we find something that's bigger than our tools will handle. Had a lady ask me to do I don't know what you can call it. Basically a tube, a closed-in tube that would hold a wine bottle. And I was willing to do it, but I had to make some tools. So I can get my camera to turn. There we go. There's the tool. One of them. And what is that? Almost 34 inches from top to bottom. And I really wanted a longer handle, but my lathe was at the time would not handle a longer handle. So that's all the handle I've got. What is that? 18, not even 18 inches. It's 16 inches. So, but that's just some cold roll round bar with a piece of tool steel on the top end and a grub screw to hold it. And I've got another one. It's almost identical to this one. That's straight. So I've got a straight one. I've got an angled one. I just cut this corner off nice and flat, and then drilled it large enough to put my bit in there. I got those bits on eBay. I think there was 10 of them. I got them for like $4. So they were pretty cheap. Cut them in half and then just sharpened them on my grinding. my aluminum oxide grinder, and it works a treat.
It does. Years
Little-
ago, David Ellsworth had created a series of hollowers that were the same way, primary and then off on a 45. And his was using a flattened and sharpened round drill rod or a sharp piece. And we
Okay.
could get those at Granger, MSC Direct, McMaster-Carr, places like that. And they are relatively inexpensive, and they come in 3 and 4 inch lengths. You get more than one cutter out of a piece.
Mm-hmm. You just score them; they snap in half real easy.
Oh, I never thought about the scoring thing. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Good idea, Doug. Boy, tools and everything, man. We're doing all right. I can't see him on my screen. Trace has got something to share tonight. Trace, what you got, bud? Talk. There he is.
There you are. You're up.
Okay.
You're muted. You're muted.
Muted.
Let me change my mic. Is that better
There
now?
you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is for holding logs for cutting it with a chainsaw. I made it primarily, I've got a big one I use for logs here at the house, but I did this one primarily for traveling. But it works real well for logs even up to 16, 18 inches. The slot's in the middle, so you can set the log here and cut straight down to split a log with it, or take the log and put it on here and chop it off on the end of it.
Nifty
And
idea.
it's a way to safely hold the log. It holds it about 4 or 5 inches off the ground, so you don't put your chain down into the dirt when you're cutting with it. This notch was primarily for me with the camper, because I'd have a small, small branches, and I can put a branch on there, and then that's big enough I can put a clamp in there and clamp the branch down on top of a table. But it's mainly for keeping your hands away from the saw and holding the log safely, and keeping your blade out of the dirt.
Good idea.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, nice little sawbuck.
Yep, and it works real well, easy to carry. You throw it in the back of your truck or car when you're traveling.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you sharing with us tonight. I saw something similar to that years ago, but instead of having screws or nails holding it together, they drilled it and did it with hardwood dowels and glue. And when I asked why, the guy said, we get off a little bit and you cut the block. If there's a screw there, you cut the screw. I guess he's the same guy that found out you don't dig your blade into the dirt, because that's not good for it anyway. And Joe Duncan says he's notorious for digging trenches with a chainsaw. I do that occasionally, Joe. And, I tried edging my grass with it once. At least that's what it looked like I did. If you have something to share with us tonight, pop up and say so. We'll get to you. And we're doing this to improve your wood turning abilities by showing you the shortcuts, the tips, the tricks, and all that our turners get into in order to continue with this. I have to mention earlier this evening, Sue, who's up right now, Susan's iPad. Sue's our new safety director. She did give us a safety tip for today, and we will try to key those safety tips into what is being turned for the demonstration that evening at that meeting. But every safety tip counts. Every one of them. And don't talk to me about bypassing them. I don't want to talk to you about it. SWAT is 2 weeks away, August 26th, 27th, and 28th in Waco, Texas. One of the finest wood turning symposiums in the entire world. Be there or be square. It is that good. It's like, I keep saying it, and somebody from SWAT the other day called me and said, can I use that logo, that slogan? Yes. It's like a family reunion with family you really like. And that's what you'll find there.
Eddie, you gonna video the instant gallery and give us a walkthrough afterwards?
I don't have it done like we used to do it. I have it in promos. And
Well, no. I'm talking about SWAT.
oh no, wait a minute. You want me to go there and look at some of the finest wood turning in the world, take photographs, come back and share them?
Oh, yeah, I want you to put it in camera on video and walk through there.
Well, hey, Captain.
I will, Trace. I always do. I put it on my YouTube channel every year.
Yeah, I was going to try to do some live streaming from there as well.
Yeah, I get a pretty good. I did real good in my iPad there when we were doing the iStream classes a long time ago. We went live from there from Spot. It came out really good. So there's a good bandwidth in that building. But yes, we'd want to see that. If you go there and take photographs of video or whatever of the artwork that you're going to see at SWAT, we want to see it. And one of my particular ones is I want to see the Beads of Courage presentations. Joaquin turned a couple he showed us a few weeks ago, and Joaquin will be demonstrating at SWAT this year. But the Beads of Courage bowls are really, really unique, and it's a chance. There are rules. Okay, there are rules. There's certain sizes, et cetera, and that's available from from Beads of Courage. Google that, Beads of Courage, and you'll find the rules there. They're not difficult. They would like to have them uniform, so one kid doesn't have one looking like a wash tub and the other one have them look like a thimble. And these are for children receiving cancer treatments. And you're trying to make their day a little bit better. And I'm personally involved with one of my daughters who's going through it right at this moment. She isn't out of surgery tonight. I'm waiting for that blip to come up right now. So it impacts all of us. And remember, if you make a child happy, you've made a lot happy. So Jimmy Lee says, I'm green and green, but my bride knew I've always wanted to get into it. So she gave me a small lei for my birthday. You lucky dog, Jimmy. She gave you a lei? Wow. Dean mentioned, and it gets even better. He said that Dean right there, that Dean mentioned Worldwide Wood Turners in one of his YouTubes the other night, and that made Lee, get this, Jimmy Lee, it made Jimmy Lee come look us up. So there you go. That's what we need to do.
Good deal. Glad he saw that. Glad he came to join the group.
Yeah. And I talked to one from Matt Harbor's club the other night. And Matt, you weren't with us when I mentioned that the gentleman called and asked, he had 3 simple questions. What do we do with freedom pens, wig stands, and
Beads of Courage.
Beads of Courage. Thank you, Carl. The branch went right past me. What do we do with them? And I told them what freedom pens. We have 6 different folks that distribute freedom pens, and those names are on our website. Wig stands. Find a local oncology group that you can give them to. And those oncology groups work in sort of a network. So if somebody at the oncology group says, well, we can't handle them right now, find someone besides the receptionist. And find the guy that signs the checks. That's my dad taught me that. Find the guy that signs the checks and say, look, I've got this. Can you help me? Because they're in a business to help people. They will do that. They will find somebody for you. And, oh, wait. Well, I was talking about that. And the sign the check thing is a term my dad used a lot. And it means find the boss, not the clerk. Find the boss. The first time he proved that to me was when he bought his first ever new car. He was 52 years old when he bought his first ever new car. and he walked into the dealership, was shunned by the salesman because he had on his wife beater undershirt and his flip-flop shoes and a pair of worn-out work pants because he just finished work and he cleaned up and we were going there. And when they shunned him, he went to the counter and told the receptionist, I want to talk to the guy that signs the checks. And we got that car for this much over what it cost to ship it to the dealership. Didn't make any salesman happy, but my dad said, I want to see who signs the checks. So I see what Cindy Droz is going to do, a walk around SWAT live, and that'll be on her channel. And somebody asked Ron, when will that be? That'll be cool. Jimmy says, I'm on my 6th lathe and still have 3 of them. Whoa. Talk about jealousy. And we got to go. Oh, Professor Rowe is in the audience tonight. Professor Rowe is with us now. Professor?
Hey, what's happening?
There's
I'm here.
Professor Rowe is with us.
Professor Rowe. There we go.
Look at that
No
hair.
longer First Sergeant.
Look at that hair, getting out of control.
Professor
Today
Rowe and
I
his hair
got my. It's raining out here. Let me show you guys. That's my weather today. All gloomy, but it's good. Just getting rid of that humidity, and Lord knows we need rain out in the desert. But today I did get my official identification for the school, so I am officially Mr. Rowe. I don't know about Professor Rowe, but I'll go with it. Sounds good. I have missed you guys. I've been very, very busy trying to get the school year started, getting all my lesson plans and all that good stuff going. But day 3 with the students, and I haven't cried yet, so I guess we're doing okay.
You're supposed to be retired.
Well, this job is really close to home, and it's a lot of fun. So I'm still feeling like I'm retired. If it gets to the point where I don't, well, then I just quit, and I still have a pension, right? So,
there you go.
Any old ways. No, I'm
what are you teaching?
We have Professor. We have one rule. You grow a man bum, you're out of here.
Yeah, not happening for 2 reasons. One, because that is just not a fashion I could ever see myself getting into, and 2, I am balding way too quick to have ever had a chance of growing one. I'm savoring every little bit of hair I have left.
All right, what you got tonight?
As well you should.
So I have shared these tips before on Worldwide Wood Turners, but it's been quite a while, so maybe we got some new turners. But how many times are you out in the shop and you got to blow your nose? Of course, the air compressor comes out when I'm talking. Hold on.
Wow, I'm glad that ain't part of the nose.
You can blow your nose with the air compressor. It's not recommended. Just do, let me see here. You just take this and then, wait, Susan, is that a safety issue? Susan, is that a safety issue?
That's a safety issue. Sue's going to write you up.
That was good.
No, you gotta go crossways so it, creates that vacuum and just sucks it out.
Oh, see, I was just gonna push it in one side.
No, you gotta go sideways,
the other.
crossed.
Remember to stay on the lee side, okay?
Oh, I have missed you guys. Okay, so back to blowing our noses in the shop. Every time we reach for the tissue box, it's covered in sawdust. So then we go to the expensive blue paper towels, and those are just way too expensive to blow our nose with. So what I've done is I just took my cardboard box, and there they are. Every time I take the lid off, I have nice, clean tissues. That has been my favorite tip that I've ever come up with. Second, I don't know how many of you have shops that are carpeted. I did for a very long time until I had this one built. And so I would use my dust collector basically like a vacuum in my old shop. And I can still do that out here, but on concrete, it's not as necessary. Things sweep up faster than I vacuum them up. But what I had done was I spun me an adapter on the lathe to fit into my dust collector so that my shop vac hoses would fit right into there. You can buy a straight coupler at any of the box stores for your shop vacs and fit that onto your hose. That way you don't have the tab sticking up, which is on the ends of most of them, right? So that tab's going to get in the way. But you can buy a straight coupler that'll go right onto there. And then you just slip that right on there, and then however much length of hose you need, you just keep adding on. And now you have a big vacuum for your shop. So those were the two quick ones that I had tonight. But man, those were some amazing, amazing tips that were coming across tonight. And once again, we get all this for free. So that's pretty cool.
And Jim wasn't done yet.
Yeah, right?
Right. He said he's got tools that we've never seen and probably will never see unless it's right here. And Jim, you didn't overwhelm us. You got close, but you didn't overwhelm us. If you got things to share, you can do so. Bob Moffett, Birdhouse Bob, is with us. Hey, Bob, what's up with you?
Hey, how you doing? I got a couple things to show. I made can you see me? Yeah, okay. I made a little 5-inch sanding disc that matches with the random orbit sanding paper. And what I did was I took a piece of laminate flooring, drilled a hole in the back of it to fit my chuck, and I put Velcro on it on the other side, but the laminate's on the outside on both sides, and it's strong enough it'll last me forever. And if I wanted to use PSA paper, I just wouldn't put the Velcro on there. And it just fits on there like that, and then I just slap it on my chuck, and away I go.
Formica makes it stable, so moisture is not going to get it as bad.
Yeah, so I just got a little sanding something I want to do. My wife decided that she needed new knobs on the kitchen cabinets. Well, it just wasn't in my heart to throw the old ones away. So what I did was I took one of them and I put a magnet on the bottom of it. And I've got a Powermatic 3520B, and the button for the lock, I put this on that button and just push it in, and it'll hold it in when it's when it gets to the locking spot. And then when I want to unlock it, I just tilt it and it just comes loose. And that's just real handy.
It is.
I took a 3/4 inch bolt and a chair leg tip and made a soft touch out of it that fits on the end of my live center. And I figure that'll last me forever.
That is
if the tip wears out, I just buy another tip and slide on it.
That's
it's just a matter of sliding the tip onto there.
Yeah.
And
that's
that works real well.
That's a neat idea, Bob. That's neat.
That's a 3/4 10 nut.
3/4 10 nut, and then just a rubber leg tip. I got it in one of the big box stores, and just slid it on there. I had made some out of wood, but I wouldn't get. Sometimes I didn't get them threaded on right, and I lost threads on the inside of them. I don't think I'll ever lose the threads on this. I also took a Corian sink cutout and turned it round. I put a faceplate on it. Now, if you don't want to use a faceplate, you could just epoxy a couple layers of Corian here and then tap it to match your spindle. And I can either use this to turn the bottom of a bowl off. I put my bowl up against it like this, and then my tailstock holds it, and then turn the bottom off. Or it's completely flat because it's Corian, so I can use it for a sanding disc.
Good move. Because it's Corian, you can drill and tap it.
Yeah. And then I saw this in a old AAW magazine. I probably made this 10 years ago, but it's just 2 pieces of plastic pipe and a little level on the top, and a laser light that matches a wooden turn tip I put on the end here. And I put this in my bowl, let's see, like this.
Is that a funnel elimination device?
Is it what?
A funnel elimination device?
Yeah. It's how far you got to go to. You put this on there, and it marks the outside of the bowl, and then you know how far you got to go to make a funnel out of it.
And the Coalition for Protection of Funnels is going to be after you.
And you can, and you with the level on the top, so you can see the button, the bubble on the level. You can tell when it's exactly straight.
That's awesome.
And I use this all the time.
That's great.
And I made one for a friend of mine. I just went to Walmart and got a cat laser tip, the little laser about that long.
Yeah, perfect and cheap.
And I just took a T-fitting and put turned a piece, made a bushing of a piece of wood that fits in there, and I just hold the button in like this, and away I go. And now I know how far to make my funnel.
Worth the price of admission alone.
Yep. For those of you who turn funnels. Those
Some of us do it in public.
Yeah, you can also use this on hollow forms, and you can make this as long as you want it to. But
I like that.
Nifty idea.
And that's what I got.
Guys in my club give me a real hard time because I turn the bottoms a little bit thicker than most of the guys do, simply because I'm afraid of making funnels. But
it's not hard to make a funnel.
Yeah, I know. I know that. but I like that idea. That's a nice idea.
But if you make a funnel, what you can do is, what I've done is take a contrasting piece of wood and cut it to fit just a little larger than the hole is, and then textured it and made it like a medallion in the bottom. And people thought I did that on purpose.
Yeah, it's a design opportunity. Yeah,
That's right. Yeah, it's a good idea.
Thank you, Bob. Appreciate it. We've gotten some great ideas coming out, folks, and I don't think we've even started to tap the well. They're out there. We want you to be in part of it and be part of this and share what you know about wood turning. I tell you, 3 years ago, this group was formed for that simple purpose: share wood turning. No priority, no commercials. We don't have a hierarchy. It's just folks who want to share with other folks how they turn wood. Jason's got an idea with us. Jason, talk to us, sir.
Going back to what Doug had for his dust collector, I have a really small shop, so I use a shop vac, and I got tired of listening to the shop vac running next to me. So it actually sits out behind my shed, and I have a switch dedicated for it. But trying to find connectors that'll plug into a shop vac hose. And so I have 2-inch PVC pipe that runs around my shop. And so I ended up taking a heat gun, and you can heat up a piece of PVC pipe. And I just took my end so it fit right in. And now I can use the 2-inch PVC pipe wherever I need it. So
Yeah.
that's all I got. Quick, easy one.
Hey, Jason.
Great.
Hey, can you
Yeah.
show us a point where you plug it in your shop?
I probably could. I got kind of a, let me see.
Hey, Jason, right above your head, looks like you got some turning tools.
Yeah, that's where I keep all my scrapers.
Okay, what you got, magnets up there, or how you got that?
Yeah,
written up?
just bar magnets from Harbor Freight. So, and then I got, yeah, I got calipers, and yeah, it's a small shop. Working in about 8x8. So not a whole lot of room in here. Where is my
Don't
camera?
let any of it go to waste.
So there's one of my ports that I use, and this one sits close to the lathe for, it sucks up quite a bit for sanding. And then I got another one over here that I use for the bandsaw. But, oh, let's see. I just have a cap that I stuff in it. But this one will fit right into the 2-inch.
You have a cap you stuff into it to plug it up?
Well, well, the cap is because I have a port on one side close to the bandsaw, and then I have a port behind my lathe.
Just kidding.
So whichever one I'm using, I got to plug the other one to get maximum suction.
That's cool.
And then I got, kind of a, let's see if I can.
Who needs blast gates?
Right. And then I got this guy. Now this one's made a little bit smaller so that the end of my hose will fit right into it. So, and then outside I actually have a 55-gallon drum that I kind of turned into one of those cyclone type of separators.
Yeah.
So most of the garbage I suck up doesn't go into the vacuum itself.
Okay.
It'll go into that drum. And then I just have it on a switch in here so I can kick it on whenever I need it. But
That's a good idea.
well, when you're working with limited space, you do what you can.
That's right. That's why we're doing this.
Yeah, once again, this is something we talked about when we very first started this club way back when, that everybody was going to have all different size shops. We're going to have the guys with the almost commercial size shops all the way down to what you're doing. And this is what's so cool, that everybody's got tips and tricks on how to do every one. We don't have to have a commercial size shop. They're nice. We all want one. But look at what you're doing right there. That's amazing.
Certainly is. And it is. Do what you need to with what you have.
Well, there's been some pretty awesome stuff come out of this little shed. So
yeah. And I've got a question here for you, Jason. They want to know if that's blood or spots on your ceiling or glue.
It's red.
No, when we bought this place, the shed was already here and somebody had thrown paint all over the place in it. So I just never cleaned it off, and it's like, just a workshop.
That's his story, and he's sticking to it. Okay.
I still have all my fingers, so I'm good.
All right. So if you have a tip or a trick to share with us
Has
tonight.
anybody seen his wife lately?
That was good.
Be the unindicted co-conspirator. We had a governor like that one time. That was Louisiana. All right. If you got something to share with us, jump up and share it.
Don't you just feed them to the gators out there?
This one would have taken on any gator and probably won. And unfortunately, we lost him last year because it was enjoyable to know him, visit with him and all. As a politician, but they all have a little dark corner. At least I think they do. But it made for interesting times here. He was running for governor when I got out the Air Force 50-something years ago, and I asked my dad, "Who is that guy?" And he says, "Just a crook looking for a bank to rob." My dad wasn't political. That's it. If you got something to share with us tonight, we have about 70 folks sticking with us. We've got about 35 minutes to wrap up the meeting this evening. We're looking forward to seeing you. Wait a minute. I see it now. I'm going to go right back to it. What is that?
So this was actually a salt and pepper shaker at one time. But little jar of brushing lacquer for just small stuff, and little brush already put into the bottom of it. I use it for little small stuff. Just throw some finish on something.
So is it?
Cool idea.
I turned the little top with the lid, and then just cut down a paintbrush and glued it in. So.
Right. Doug
That'll
Rowe,
work.
Professor Rowe, pay attention. That's probably available at the dollar store.
Yeah, that's where it came from.
I'm all over it already.
And is it something to do with that those little pieces of wood that you don't know what to do with?
They're not scraps. Kim taught us that a long time ago. They're not scraps. They're just unused turning items at the time. We're doing tips and tricks once again. If you have an idea for one, jump in, say you do. If you want us to expound on one you've already seen. I mean, we threw this out there a couple of weeks ago, and you see what Jim came up with? Jim had a screen share preview of a show of all of his tips and tricks. Like he said, tools you've never seen before in your life, and some really nifty ideas. That will get your brains working a little bit. Oh, I'd like to have that. Pardon me. I've always had that problem.
I got one more. I got one more.
Uh-oh, let's get back into it again. All in favor? Aye,
Go for it.
Aye.
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 The ayes have it.
Let me see where it went.
We scared away.
I don't believe that Jim did tips and tricks in the normal sense tonight. I think that Jim did was a tips and trips documentary.
Oh, you know what? I messed up.
That was on the edge of a full-on demo, you ask me.
Oh,
No,
very close.
I messed up. Wait, I didn't open it.
Got a couple of more tools I could show you that I've made over time.
Is that Jason?
Yeah.
Is that? I don't know what that.
I demonstrate all over the country.
All right. Let's drop on.
Yeah, can we go back to Jason?
Yeah, I'm trying to get
While he's finding what he needs.
I'm sorry.
Okay, we have some double and triple audio going. We're going to go right back to Jason. He says he's got some tools to show.
So I was doing bottle stoppers, getting kind of frustrated, so made just a little handle, and it's just glued in, just a little tap for the
You can't see
threads.
it. Okay.
So just to clear up threads and that, I usually run a little bit of CA glue in there first. Well, trying to hold on to one of these because I use the Parfex on them to run on the buffer was kind of a pain in the butt. So just old tool handle out of a cheap Harbor Freight tool and cut off the bolt, put it in. So now I can screw the bottle stopper right on there and be able to run it on my buffing wheels. And be able to hold on to it.
Genius.
Very nice.
There you go.
No more broken fingers.
Well, no more shooting bottle stoppers across the shop.
Oh, okay.
I was going to say, that's going to take all the
Just
fun out
bows.
of dodging those bottle stoppers as they come flying at you.
Yep.
Just make sure you buff it in the right direction. Jason, just make sure you buff it in the right direction.
Yeah.
You buff it the wrong way, it might spin it right off of there.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Let's go to Australia. There he is. I know he's there. And I'm going to do this. Then I have to do this.
There he is.
And I'm with Donald in Australia. Donald, what you have, sir?
Side speaker.
Okay.
That's just how I store my tools. That blue strips are magnets. And I don't know, there's too many tools there at any rate. And then on the shelf above, I also have shorter ones for holding rulers and stuff like that.
Very nice.
Donald's got a new lathe.
Either that or he's keeping as clean as Kane does. Wow.
Donald, how new is that lathe?
How did I lift it? In pieces.
No. How long have you had that lathe?
I got it just before I got COVID, so that slowed me down. Just over a month.
It's looking beautiful. Let's dirty it up a little bit.
Nah, gotta keep it clean.
Yeah.
There you go.
Nothing wrong with that.
I was always getting into trouble for having sawdust 6 inches deep everywhere.
Well, thank you, Donald. Beautiful. Sharing ideas and tips. Jim Selby is now. Jim, talk to us, bud.
All right. I did my first ink pen. Not first ink pen, but my first engraving on my ink pen. And I made a board with 3 grooves of different sizes, so the pen will set flat when I put it in the engraver.
Nice idea.
But my first engraved ink pen.
Very nice.
Very nice.
Looks great.
And you can engrave pens without using the pen roller, or I have one sitting right here in front of me, the BPMJ base. I have a laser, and this is the base that fits underneath, and getting high tech, it works with a string to make it turn, but it works.
Wow.
And I modified it to have a mandrel that will fit into my shop made pens, so it is versatile piece. I saw him come in. Did y'all see him come in?
Joaquin's here.
I thought that was it. Talk to us, Joaquin. Now, you see?
There he is.
Okay. All right. All right. We ought to have a show sometime. What's the most unusual thing or weird thing you've been asked to turn? And Wendy from the Mesquite Sawmill down in Kingsville, she called me up and says, Joaquin, this guy wants me to turn these Indian clubs for him. I ain't got time. Could you take care of it? And that was 6 months ago. And I finally got around to it. And these are Indian clubs for their exercise pens for strengthening and mobilization. So they're made out of mesquite. He wanted them made out of mesquite. He's out of Indiana. There's another set of them. But I did something when I was parting these off. I had cut this off and I was parting it off. I got it too thin, it broke off. I broke a piece out and I had to glue this up. I said, Joaquin, you've done this before. You know better than to do something like that. So I've got the Nova free center system. It has all these different attachments to it. And I got the one way also, but this one here, we can put it in the free center. And we've got a little rod adapter, and there's where you put all these other different pins in here that it has in there. Or this, you can put this in there for going inside, a diameter. But I needed something on the outside. So I was able to take that and put on the end of and hold it there while I cut it to about a 1/4 inch in diameter and then saw it off and ended up with a good bottom on it. But that first one, it fell out and even left a dent on it. Very upset with myself. And I don't know, this Nova set's really good. The one way is fantastic as well. Another item I have is this, it's 1/4 inch extension with a mandrel on the end. I took a piece of 1/4 inch pipe, so it slides up and down. I can sand inside of vessels, and it really works good and saves your fingers, and you can get down there pretty deep with different mandrels and such.
And the pipe is so you can hold it, right?
Yeah, so you can just slide it in your hand and it's turning.
Sure.
That's a
Good idea.
Yeah. And it's just a 1/4 inch. You got 1/4 inch on the end there also. Drill extensions, what it is.
That's
All
a good
right,
idea.
thank you. Good idea. And y'all know if you stick that bit on that extension into the bottom of a vessel, it's going to start wobbling. And that probably the last thing you hear before it breaks through the side. So, all right. And do I have this right, Joaquin? You'll be a demonstrator at SWAT?
Yes, sir. I will. I'm
Good.
doing, the offset leaning Christmas tree that Matt and I did about 6 months ago.
Yes.
That's what I'll be doing there.
Good.
I've got some better tips on that.
All righty. And that's a good project, but the technique used to do the good project can move on from those Christmas trees.
Yes, sir.
It can be used a whole bunch of different things. That was a lot of fun, Joaquin.
Yeah, I've learned a few things since, and got some improvements, and looking forward to it, Matt.
Very cool. Very cool.
Are you coming down?
No, I'm afraid not.
Joe said he's coming down.
Well, that'd be great.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
I wish I could. It's a great symposium. You guys, it's done very well.
They've already got, as of last week, 832 signed up and 44 vendors. And, compared to Chattanooga, that is way better than what they had.
Yes, that's awesome. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. A family reunion with family you really do like.
Yeah.
We're going to pop back to Birdhouse Bob. Birdhouse, you said you had something else to show.
I got a couple of quick tips here that I do that I find real handy. Have you got me on the screen? Yeah, okay. I take a pencil and a little rare earth magnet. I get it Harbor Freight.
Yeah.
The masking tape. Tape the magnet onto the pencil. And I can just stick it on the side of my lathe, and I've always got a pencil there. And I do the same thing with a Sharpie. There we go.
Pick it up. There you go.
Just taping a little magnet on there. And on this, I use this whenever I get a sanding disc down and it doesn't have the grit number on the back. I just go ahead and take this and write it on there so I'll know what grit it is. And I also took a little tape measure and I took the metal clip off of it and took the screw out and put some epoxy on it and glued a magnet on it, put the screw back on, and I just stick it on the side of my lathe. And it's always there when I need it. And I've got one of these on every power tool in my shop.
I'll be.
And
I've got one question, Bob.
It's just, I like magnets, and it's just, it's just a real convenient thing to do.
You can't have too many pencils, can you, Bob?
Do what?
You can't have too many pencils.
No, you can't.
You always can't find
It's nice
one.
to be able to find them.
So, Bob, what do you do with all that time that you've got that you used to use looking for tape measures and
More birdhouses.
More birdhouses.
More birdhouses.
Try to sweep up shavings and keep my wife happy.
There you go.
Thank you, Bob. Tips and
That's
tricks.
a great tip.
It is. I know in my career, probably 40 years ago, I had a carpenter come in to work for me all the time, but I come in one day and I said, "Can we start on this set of stairs?" He said, "Yeah, you got a pencil I can use?" And that's when I knew we were in trouble. How do you come to work as a carpenter building staircases and not have a pencil? Just like in the shop, when I moved into the house, the boss said, "Do you have pencils?" I've got at least 6 cans like this around the shop.
Well, Cat Manny, you need to go buy you some magnets.
Well, oh no, wait. The ones out on the lathe, the bandsaw right back here, the drill press, the stand, and the grinder station are all being held on by magnets.
There you go.
Sit on the counter. But I'm a big fan of K&J Magnets. K&J Magnetics, I believe is the company called. I mean, when I go to the website, I need to use restraint because I'll see something just like what Bob was talking about a minute ago. This is one I did for a holder. This is 10, 12 years old. Still grabs like you won't believe. And the round ones we use for the sander bearings, and the little ones for. One of my daughters wanted me to make her some wooden refrigerator dot things to put notes, or really put her daughter's papers on a refrigerator from school. And the ones they got at the cheeky store were not strong enough. So I made her some with a 3/8 by 1/8 magnet. And she said the only problem with that, you gotta put a button like on the top of them because you can't get them off otherwise. Because
So watch your fingers on some of those too.
Oh,
Yeah, I've managed to give myself a blood blister pinching between those magnets. I don't know, Eddie. Restraint is for the uncommitted, for my money.
Well, that's true.
They sell those magnets in bulk for a reason.
And you know they can't ship that by air. So if you think it's gonna take a couple of days to get, that's the reason.
Yeah,
And
it messes with the electronics. Yeah.
Yeah, I've gotten a block of 3 by 3 by 3 round magnets that my mailman apologized for being late on delivery because they were stuck to the underside of the shelf in his mail truck, and he didn't know it for a couple of days. So that's why when we used to sell the bearings, we double wrapped them, because I could just see those pouches going into a steel mailbox and staying right there. So Matt said shrink tubes are a great idea. Oh, like putting it on a pencil, put a heat shrink tube on it to hold it in place.
Yeah, that was Joe Duncan's. I'm going to have to try that. That's a great idea. I like that idea.
All right, and Glenn Dornack.
I found basket tape works just fine in there. When the pencil wears out, I just take it off and put it on another one.
And look at the tape.
Just electrical tape.
Yeah.
Glenn Dornack, there he is. Glenn, well, you got to talk now.
Yeah, I'm here.
We got you, bud.
Okay, I've got a little quick tip. I've been turning some little miniature parts. Well, this is a little big. This is maybe about 1 inch diameter, but I've been turning a bunch of little small parts, like maybe 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch diameter with maybe a 1/4 inch hole, 1/8 inch hole. So when I part it off to keep from losing it, so I'll take my chuck in my tailstock, put a small dowel, run this all the way in there, and then when I start parting it off, when it breaks loose, it stays on the dowel. It won't fall into the chips, and then you'll never find it.
Well, that takes all the fun of searching for it out.
Yeah.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, Jason likes to do that. Run around the shop looking at shavings.
I just know because I've done it many a time on small parts.
But I used to do this a lot when I was in the machine shop. A lot of times when you part stuff off to keep from hitting onto ways, you put a dowel or aluminum dowel or something in there. That way it'll catch it, and that way you don't have to keep making them the same piece over and over. So that's
Good
it.
idea. Thank you, Glenn. All right,
You're welcome.
share ideas tonight. And as I said earlier, that's why we're here. Reminding you that we're still supporting the 101st with gifts to our troops, and they don't necessarily have to be Freedom Pens. And that information is on our website, and they will take turned items. And I spoke with someone this week that's making little jars, little boxes. And he when I mentioned you can also send Freedom Pens, it was like I relieved him of a burden, because he had a ton of Freedom Pens he'd just made using the no pen kit process. And they'll all be going to the 101st. But I don't want to shortcut Freedom Pens, because I see Jim there and Professor Rowe and a few others are out there, and they help us with the Freedom Pen project. And if you want to create a Freedom Pen and send it on to our troops, it's very simple to do. All you have to do is go to our website and find that address for the branch you choose, or Professor Rowe handles all of them. So you send a pen in and we get it to troops who are actually serving our country, protecting our freedom. No simpler way to put it. All right. It is now about 15 minutes before the top of the hour. We normally pull the plug at the top of the hour. If you got something to share with us, Glenn says, I have a bead of courage. Oh, Glenn, come back.
All right, I'm here. You got me?
I got you, bud.
Okay.
What do you have?
Well, last week I had showed a Beads of Courage box. I turned one out of ash, but I wanted to make a rectangle one also. So this is one I've made, and it's got the it's just square, but I did turn the knob for it, and it's out of I think it's maple. I turned it just with some butt joints on it, and I cut that out, and I cut this the lid out of walnut, and then on the other side I wood burn and painted the Beads of Courage logo on there.
Great job, Glenn.
Yeah, that's nice.
Thanks.
That's
Very nice.
But I'll be turning in my Beads of Courage boxes to one of our members, and he's going to take all the our Beads of Courage boxes to swap to show.
That is an exhibition to see. If you've ever been to SWAT, and if you are going this year, look in the and they have a gallery. On this side is some of the finest looking wood turning in the world. I'm not kidding. And on that side is more of the finest wood turning in the world, and that most of that is Beads of Courage. And it is well worth the trip. Bring a camera, and used to say bring a lot of film. Bring a couple SD cards because you're going to want to take pictures. Tom Kenny is in Tallahassee. Tom, talk to me, sir.
Can you hear me now?
I think
testing.
We got you, Tom.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
We got
4, 5, 6. Okay.
There we go. Oftentimes I have to mix up a little batch of epoxy or color something, and I used to use the lids off a spray can or something, but when we get to-go order, they put the condiments in these little cups, or we get stuff that comes with these little scoops, and these are just ideal for doing small batches of stuff. And normally I throw them out, but this one is, I had to mix up some JB Weld, and I just couldn't bear to throw it out, so I wiped it out with the tissue, and I'll use it again one day. Next thing, Eddie has talked several times about keeping your tool rest clean and no nicks. And in Florida, it's so hot and humid that your hands get sweaty, and I have found this to be ideal. This is baby powder, and I just put my hand up against the tool rest and sprinkle a little bit on and get on the back of my hand. So when I'm running up and down the tool rest, it glides nice and smooth.
Do you use the fresh mint flavor? Or?
That can is so old I can't read the print on it anymore. It's about 20 years old, I believe. And the third tip I have is I keep this little votive candle on my headstock. It's been there for 15 years, and I just rub it up and down the tool rest, particularly when I'm hollowing. And it just, sometimes I'll even rub it on the bottom of the boring bar, and those two wax surfaces just glide across each other. And between the talc and the wax, that's my favorite tip.
Good. Yep, take out that friction or the pounding and beating. Good idea. Alrighty, other ideas, tips and tricks? Come on, bring them on, share. You want to say, let's try to outdo the other guy? No, let's just share it all. If you've got something, pop up and give it to us. Next week, Scott Hampton is me doing a demonstration for us. Tonight, he kind of led up to a little bit. If he gets a right size log, it's one demonstration. If he gets the other size log, it's another demonstration. Dane Chandler set that up for us. Dane handles setting up our demonstrations. he had a personal thing to take care of tonight. I don't think he's in the crowd. Dane, we miss you if you're going to catch us on a flip. When I say catching on a flip, each week, our master webmaster, David, takes this meeting and puts it on our website. But then he'll go into the meeting and take excerpts of the demonstrations and highlights and things like that and put those on our website. So you don't have to go watch a 3-hour meeting to see a part of the website you'd like to see. And lately, I say he's the world's greatest website director ever been, but he's outdoing himself. Now, in 2 days, we're seeing that on our website. Don't want to put any pressure on him, but we've seen it on 2 days after the thing. But we do get him on there. David does do that. And he also adds to our gallery. So if you got a nice piece to show, you can send it to our worldwidewoodturners@gmail.com or put it on a link to our website. And David and I will both get them, and we both use them. I'm doing promos versus galleries. And it came about because I couldn't sit here long enough to do something, and I couldn't find a chair comfortable enough that I could stick around in front of the computer. But I'm going to go back to it. That and the newsletter. And this month it was this close to getting ready for the newsletter, and didn't. Oh well. Tim Hatch says, Doug, LOL with stupid fingers. And Bob Moffat's here. He said he's out of here. Take care. Tim Hatch is in and out. We have a lot of folks that pop in each week and spend the entire meeting time with us, and we really appreciate it. And tonight, this was a little bit strange. I mean, Professor Rose said it a little while ago. We had a marathon session of tips and tricks from actual turners. And I don't think anybody tonight has mentioned that you have to buy this brand, this type, this style, this manufacturer of tool in order to accomplish any of these ideas. No, and 90% was created in their shop using what they've developed over the years. And I hope you've all picked up something from this, because I do my notes every week. I've got my notes here, things that I want to look into. And then I've got another half of that page of notes of things that would mention tonight, but I've done them. But where are they? I lost the shop a year ago. Excuse me, we moved in. And I really don't believe a lot of stuff blew away. We had some family cleanup, and, you know, they're not wood turners. But somebody showed a jig for drawing out, we talked about yardstick for putting a pencil in to draw the outside of a piece as you cut it. I saw it in fact, I saw it at SWAT. A guy was going to turn out a piece off a log, and he picked up a piece of masonite, and he had them 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 inches in diameter, and he had a center hole on them, and he put this over the top of that log, moved it around, took his scratch awl, put it in and hit it, and that is where his center was going to go, and he knew where it was going to be. And if he wanted to rough it out on the bandsaw, he just left it all there. The disc, the scratch awl, and the whole works went over to his bandsaw, and he had his template for him to follow and cut it all the way around. And he would probably end up with corners that he could use for other parts, because remember the rule, there are no scrap woods, just woods you haven't turned yet.
That's birdhouse wood.
Birdhouse, you darn right, Bob, birdhouse wood. And I got a whole box, I found it the other day, a whole box of 2x2x2 paralams pieces I got from Ruth Niles. And if y'all don't know, Ruth Niles sold her business, and an outlaw, Carl Jacobson, bought it. And he's put his co is co-conspirator Robin is going to be handling that SWAT. Go by and see them. They're a kick. But Ruth sent me a whole bunch of these 2x2x2 blocks, and Bob's right. They are perfect birdhouse blocks. Perfect. You can make the top on anything you want, but for the what do you call the piece that Bob? You got the top, and then you have the
I call it the base.
The base.
But you could,
all right.
but you could call it the house. I mean, if it
Yeah,
was
well-
a box, it would just be the box, right?
Okay. But you know,
Just
wood
to-
turns, we can put a name on anything and it's got to stick.
Yeah, I mean, you could technically call a birdhouse a box with a finial for a bottom and a funky top, right?
Whoa, 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 whoa. I want to help save you from Bob.
So, Matt, are you gonna make a threaded lid for that birdhouse?
Yeah.
You know, somebody that threading demo was great, and maybe, who knows? Gluing them works real good though, so why make them threaded?
Yeah, well, I was pretty good at my threading tools, the old-fashioned style, not the new ones that are double in it and all that. I had the old-fashioned ones, and then someone gave me a set of number 10 that was made out of a file. They notched the file out to make their own, and that was work. But you know, when you need a tool, you can make a tool. All right. I think we've had fun tonight, folks. I think we've all learned a little bit of something about our shops. Next week, we can go back to our regular format, if there's any such thing as a regular format.
Hey, Captain,
Yes, ma'am.
just let everybody know they can watch this over and over and over again if they didn't write down notes on the tips. They can
Right.
see the whole thing over again.
Right, and you can do screen captures on a repeat. So you can see again the print. Like, man, I got to print it and bring it out to the shop or into the shop.
Well,
but-
we could run through 2-3 more meetings like this and still not hear all the tips and tricks.
That's what the professor was saying tonight. This is, well, Doug was on the team that created this program. I had 10 friends. I still have 10 friends, but I had 10 friends that I asked, is this an idea to work? And that was 3 years ago in September. And they all said, it's free and we'll have the best in the world come forward. That's where this came from. So just as Jason said, we can do this again, we probably will do this again. And this time we'll put a little bit more of a promotion on it because we don't want to leave anybody behind and we don't want to miss anybody. We're missing Brenda tonight. Where's Brenda? She's probably got Band-Aids on both hands and no one coming forward.
Where's Ronnie?
I talked to Ronnie earlier today because Ronnie's helped me with the claim I got to the VA, and he was out turning and burning in the shop. And if he got free, he'd be in with us tonight. But Ronnie is really big in the burning thing with the lasers. He can't get things done quick enough in order to laser them out. He's having a good time though, and that's what we're supposed to have.
Right.
Heather says we're watching later on. We're working and she couldn't listen. Heather, we miss you. We'll see you again soon. I think she works her shift when we're in the meeting, but that's why we have the website, and that's why we ask you to contribute to what we do. All right, on behalf of everybody here at worldwidewoodturners.org, and I mean everybody because everybody's a member and everybody's equal, we want to thank you for being with us tonight. We invite you to come back and bring your friends next week. And if you see a promo, a Facebook or a YouTube or any of those done by Worldwide Woodturners, and Woodturners is our YouTube page, if you see any of that, when you do view it, click share and share it with the rest of your group, your team, your makeup, whatever. Share information and remind them all, please be safe. That's all I can say. Please be safe. We'll see you all next week. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And
Good night, everybody.
Good night,
everybody.
Save the chat.
Night, everybody.
Night,
all.
Thank
Night,
you for the
everybody.
highlight of the
Good
week.
night, guys.
Save the chat. Donald popped up. Save the chat. All right. You have to have
Everybody have a great
background
week.
Australia.
Stay safe.